Oh my goodness. Good morning, good afternoon, whatever it is for you. I hope you're having a fantastic day. My name is Zach Schomler. This is Strong Opinion Sports, episode 678. Welcome in. Look, it's Saturday, very early in the morning, before Penn State plays Ohio State. I don't know what to say about this. I was trying to record this on Thursday night. Life happens. You'll see later, like half the episode does take place on Thursday night. I literally have different, longer hair. Things happened. Here we are doing the best I can. I'm not going to dwell on it. I love you guys. I appreciate you. This is going to probably come out midday on Saturday, November 2nd, because I've got to add a bunch of clips after I record, like do a bunch of editing to make this work and look really cool. But it's worth doing because I'm talking about Jayden Daniels and Caleb Williams in this episode. And I felt like my answer on Monday kind of sucked. Nathan asked me, what'd you think of Caleb Williams against Jayden Daniels? And I just didn't like how I answered the question. I didn't feel like I sounded very informed. It is what it is. All you can do is kind of rectify the situation, cover it again, do the best you can. My opinion ends up ultimately being the same, but at least I can tell you why this time. And so let's jump in. Before we do anything else, let's talk about Thursday Night Football. On Thursday Night Football, the Jets beat the Houston Texans 21-13. It was a really good win for the Jets. I'm very excited for them. They're trying to stay alive. Every game really matters. I think a good Jets team is good for the health of the NFL. I want to see the Jets be competitive, be close, challenge a team like Buffalo for that division. I think I come across many times as a Jets hater. I've even said, look, ever since I fired Robert Saleh, it's been hard for me to watch them because I'm kind of rooting for them to fail. And some of that's true. That's honest. I'm not going to lie to you. But I would like to see the Jets climb back into contention. That would make the season more interesting. It'd be good for them. I also think, given Aaron Rodgers' contract, he's not going anywhere next year. So you want to see them salvage it and try to get, for next year, Aaron Rodgers' sake, I want to see the Jets in a position where they can, take this year and use it as a springboard for next year and be in contention next year. That's what I'm hoping happens, to be honest. Is it fun to watch them fail and lose to the Patriots? A little bit. It's a little bit funny. But ultimately, I do want to see this Jets team matter and make a difference and be in the hunt for a playoff spot under Aaron Rodgers. That would make the football in the NFL more interesting. Now, Houston is not the same. Their top two wide receivers are hurt. Stephon Diggs tore his ACL. He's out for the year. Nico Collins is on the IR with a hamstring injury. For me, the Jets beating Houston isn't like some big, incredible feat. It's like, oh, great. Yeah, you beat a team that's like limping its way through the season now. For me, Houston was a borderline Super Bowl contender. They were right on. I would say in the AFC, obviously, it's Kansas City, Buffalo, and the Ravens. And the Ravens or Buffalo kind of interchangeable. Probably I would put the Ravens ahead of Buffalo if you really pressed me on it. So Kansas City, Ravens, and Buffalo. And then after that, the next tier, after those top three, they're the obvious ones, I'd have Houston right behind them, kind of trying to challenge them. Probably not anymore. Probably not without Stephon Diggs and without Nico Collins. For now, Houston is out of Super Bowl contention in my mind. And we'll see if that changes. Maybe when they bring Nico Collins back from an injury. Like Nico Collins, they added Stephon Diggs. I don't think they needed Stephon Diggs because Nico Collins is truly a pretty good number one wide receiver. And so maybe that's enough to get him back into a really competitive spot. But right now, without either receiver, it's just not the same Houston offense. They're struggling, and it's hard to imagine them competing for a Super Bowl right now. We'll see again if that changes down the road once Nico Collins becomes healthy and available. I want to talk about Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers in this game on Thursday night, it was kind of a tale of two halves. At halftime, he was 7 for 14 with 32 yards. I don't have to write, it's on my notes. I don't even have to look at it. I know that from my heart. It was an ugly first half for the Jets offense. They had we'll talk about it, a fumble that really made an impact there. By the end of the game, Aaron Rodgers was 22 for 32 passing, 211 yards, had 3 touchdown passes. I just want to say I'm curious if there's time for the Jets organization to turn things around. They're 3-6 right now. But also, I look ahead, they've got winnable games down the stretch. If they can play competitive football, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility to believe they could bring themselves back in and give themselves a shot to be a competitive, good football team. I will say there was some ugly execution. Like, Malachi Corley ran into the end zone and fumbled the ball. He drops the ball heading into the end zone, celebrating too early. That's not good. He didn't get a touchdown that should have been a touchdown. That cannot happen. Davante Adams had a drop down the sideline 2 weeks ago in a game. I don't want to hold on to old stuff too much, but 2 weeks ago, I thought Aaron Rodgers did enough to beat New England. And then the Jets defense gave up the game-winning drive to the Patriots. The Jets lose, and could Aaron have been better in that game? Yeah. Did he put his team in a position where they should have won the game? Also, yes. They didn't win that game. That's pretty tough. I want to actually, weirdly enough, I know I've hated on Aaron. I have criticized him a lot. I don't like Aaron's body language. I don't like his leadership style. However, I'll come to his defense a little bit. I feel for the guy. It's really hard when you feel like people around you are letting you down. I work in my job. I'm basically an estimator, meaning I build quotes. I go to someone's house. I evaluate their HVAC system. I build a quote for them to get a new system. And I make a plan for how we're going to install a new system. Sometimes you make a plan, you think you communicate it, and then the guys that do the installing work don't do the plan you laid out. And look, I try to take accountability in that kind of situation. Maybe I could have communicated better, but sometimes you feel let down. Here's the thing. I feel occasionally like I get let down at my job professionally. You can't freak out and berate the guys and make fun of them and belittle them and roll your eyes and call them like crappy words. You have to be positive and encouraging, because that's how you actually build a relationship with people and continue to work with them. I have a situation, we installed a job yesterday on Friday. It was a massive install, supposed to go well. I thought I communicated the plan. I was supposed to go and even walk through and teach them. They called me off, said, we got it, we're fine. Friday night comes, I get a call. I'm at a high school football game, and they're like, the customer goes, they didn't do our plan. And I had to game plan with everyone. Monday, I'm going back to finish the job and do it a little bit differently, the way that was supposed to have gone down. Did I feel let down by my install crew? Yeah, a little bit. Did I feel like I communicated to them the plan? I thought I did. But you have to handle a situation like that with grace. Aaron Rodgers, when he feels like people let him down, he doesn't handle situations appropriately in my mind. And as a leader, I went to a high school football game last night. It was my former head coach's, my high school coach's like final regular season game. He's retiring. So it was kind of like a reunion for me and all of my former high school teammates. I saw so many people that I haven't seen in like 9-10 years last night. And it really brought me back. It's like, man, there was a time where I was working and trying to collaborate with all these people, and you have to be encouraging. You can't be snarky and rude. And if someone, and my favorite receiver of all time, guy named Cameron Sissel, he would never drop a pass. But if he did drop a pass, like, I'm not going to yell at the guy and berate him or roll my eyes at him. I'm going to encourage him and try to make sure that we're on the same page, so that next time we're in that situation where we got to do it again, he likes me and we're going to work together. You have to ingratiate yourself to people that you got to collaborate with. I feel like Aaron Rodgers seems to miss that understanding of how leadership works, that you got to ingratiate yourself. He's just like, I'm Aaron stinking Rodgers. You got to do it right. And I think people in today's football landscape don't want to work with a leader like that. But again, I feel for Aaron, because after feeling like I've gotten let down professionally a couple times, it's like, well, I understand the deep frustration, but you got to handle a situation like that more gracefully. In this game on Thursday Night Football, Garrett Wilson had a really sick catch. He got ruled a touchdown. It's like a sick one-handed catch. No matter what you feel about the catch, it's incredible. Like, it's one-handed. He's falling down. It's unbelievable. I'm not 100% sure it was in bounds. It got ruled in bounds. I'm not going to lie to you. This last week in the NFL, I saw a call that felt like a touchdown catch in Washington that got ruled not a catch. And I guess on replay, like, I can understand the argument why it wasn't a touchdown catch. I saw this one on Thursday night. Garrett Wilson catches a one-handed catch, and it's like, yeah, that's incredible. His knee's out of bounds. And ultimately, it was ruled that his shin came down before the knee on the same leg came down out of bounds. So it's like 1 foot went down, only 1 foot. But then it was foot and then shin. That's inbounds, but then his knee goes in out of bounds. And like, well, the shin's already inbounds, so it's a touchdown catch. I guess. I mean, it feels like it's a judgment call with the NFL rules. And I'm like, you don't want to, look, an incredible catch like that, you want to reward and give that a touchdown, a nod, I guess. I understand. But it felt kind of weird. Either way you look at it, though, yeah, the Jets won on Thursday night 21-13, but they did it over a Houston team that's kind of struggling to find their identity without their top 2 wide receivers. And it was frankly a really sloppy game for the Jets. They had a roughing the punter penalty. They had a roughing the snapper penalty on a field goal that gave Houston a first down. I don't know, man. I want to see the Jets climb back into contention. I'm not sure they're going to. I think, frankly, since firing Robert Saleh, the defense hasn't been the same. I think partially that's because Jeff Ulbrich, who's the defensive coordinator and now head coach, has just a lot of responsibility, and it's tough to be the defensive coordinator, trying to game plan, trying to make sure the defense is in the right spot, and also be head coach and oversee everything. It's just a lot to ask of one man. The Jets' next 2 games, they play Arizona and then Indy. Arizona is obviously a winnable game. So are the Colts. The Colts are 4-4 for the Jets to play. 2 weeks from now, week 11, in Rutherford, New Jersey, at MetLife Stadium, you've got the Colts at the Jets. It's going to be Joe Flacco, who's 39, against an aging Aaron Rodgers. That's actually a really fun, interesting game with 2 teams at a very similar position in the NFL. They're both, the Jets are trying to get back to 500. The Colts are 500. Jets-Colts 2 weeks from now is a really, really fun, really interesting matchup, but I'm frankly very excited to watch. I know that's weird. Who would have thought Jets-Colts, 2 slightly bad football teams, but I think it's actually going to end up being a really fun, really interesting, and competitive football game. All right. Let me just double check. Everything is recording. Every once in a while I sit down and I talk for like an hour and I go, I hope I hit record. And yeah, I can look with my eyeballs, but my audio device is actually out of view. It's like under my computer, so I can't see it. It's very stressful doing that, but it's like space-wise in this room. It's kind of the only space to put it. I got criticized last episode. I thought rightfully so. Nathan asked me about the Washington and Chicago game. How the quarterbacks compared against each other. Jayden Daniels against Caleb Williams. I didn't feel like I had a very good answer. And so I rewatched the game. Remember, this is the game where Washington threw a Hail Mary. They beat Chicago 18-15 on the very last play with a Hail Mary. It was very, very cool. And Bears quarterback Caleb Williams was 10 for 24 passing at 131 yards. He also had 9 carries for 47 yards rushing. There was a fumble that's ruled his fumble. It was on a handoff. It was a fullback dive. It's a judgment call. Is that Caleb Williams' fault? Is that the running back's fault? I guess, technically, by the rules I have always played with, it's the quarterback's fault. It's the quarterback's job to handle the mesh, make sure the handoff goes smoothly and well. And if the handoff is fumbled, it's on the quarterback. So I guess, yeah, I'm comfortable calling that a Caleb Williams fumble. But I thought ultimately, pretty clean game. Yeah, 10 for 24 passing. We can talk about that. It's a terrible completion percentage. But anyway, we'll get to it. I thought he was okay. Jayden Daniels was 21 for 38 passing at 326 yards, a touchdown pass, 8 carries, 52 yards rushing. After rewatching the game, I still do not believe that Jayden Daniels was way, way head and shoulders better than Caleb Williams. I thought he had a little better day, sure. Better stat line, better numbers, absolutely. But numbers are not everything. You can't just look at a guy, he had 300 yards and he had 100 and he's better. It's like, no. Geno Smith leads the NFL in passing yards, and Patrick Mahomes has 8 touchdown passes and 9 interceptions. Patrick Mahomes has more interceptions than touchdowns thrown. Do you think Geno Smith is a better quarterback than Patrick Mahomes? Because that's what the numbers show. But no one in the right mind believes that, which is why I'm telling you, numbers are not everything. You can't just read into a stat line and go, that guy's way better than that guy. I don't like that. That's not how I interpret the game of football. Despite the numbers, what I saw wasn't a crazy gap between development or talent. I thought both quarterbacks had some inaccurate throws early in this game. Jayden Daniels definitely had more memorable big throws downfield. Obviously, the Hail Mary, yeah, that's the one that you're like, oh my gosh, the Hail Mary was incredible. They won. But he also had a deep ball down the sideline to Terry McLaurin for 61 yards. And you're like, yeah, that's the kind of throw that sticks in your mind if you watch that game and go, man, that's a dime. That's great. And I thought as a whole on the day, Washington's offense looked better than Chicago. Washington got into the red zone multiple times. Now, they didn't score touchdowns. They had multiple touchdowns called back and had to settle for field goals. But I thought, like, from a standpoint, it wasn't just Jayden Daniels was a little better. It's like the entire Washington offense looked like a better, more cohesive unit with better play calls. And I think they do have a better offensive coordinator in Washington with Cliff Kingsbury. One throw that really, really sticks in my head, Caleb Williams missed Keenan Allen open downfield on a 3rd and 12. And that's just, like, hard to erase the memory of. But the biggest difference between Caleb Williams and Jayden Daniels on Sunday during this game was that Caleb Williams was running for his life. The offensive line of Chicago was struggling quite a bit. The left tackle got really badly beaten a couple times. There were moments where you're like, oh, dude, Caleb has no shot on that play. And I really respect, actually, that Caleb Williams kept fighting and trying to survive and do well. By the end of the game, he made a lot of really big plays. And I thought you got to kind of tip the cap to a guy having resilience, fighting through bad stuff happening, overcoming things. Yeah, is the final stat line 10 for 24? Yeah, is that great? No, but he fought. And by the end of the fourth quarter, he played really well. He put his team in a position to win. I thought he had what should have been the game-winning drive. He had a throw over the middle to Cole Kmet where he hung in the pocket, he reset his feet, made a great throw. You're like, dang, that's awesome. He overcame offensive line play. He also had a tough break on 3rd and 1 on the goal line. Fullback dive. Handoff gets fumbled. That's ruled as fumble, and everywhere I played quarterback, it's the quarterback's job to handle the mesh. So technically that's his fault, but like that's also bad luck. That's a fullback not quite securing the ball. It's I guess on technicality that's the quarterback's fault, but it's a bad break. And on the final drive for Chicago, the touchdown drive that should have been the game winner, he made a crazy play where he avoids a sack, he gets outside the pocket, makes a big throw downfield for a first down. Like, man, that's incredible. This is a dude balling, trying to keep a play alive. And in the fourth quarter, he made plays when it mattered most. Earlier in the game, he made a big throw with a rusher in his face as well. I thought Caleb's numbers were not great in this game, but he didn't have like some historically awful day. I think, again, if you just look at the box score and the numbers, you go, oh, it sucks. But I just watching with my own eyes, watching the film, I didn't see a huge gap between Jayden Daniels and Caleb Williams. That's just not what I saw when I watched the game. Jayden Daniels had a better game a little bit, sure. But I thought Caleb had more to overcome and did a good job of doing that and putting his team, again, I thought Caleb should have won the game. He had a fourth quarter touchdown that should have won. Like, you put together a drive, you win, and it's like, man, you're a Hail Mary away from the story being, wow, Caleb Williams was, when it mattered most, made plays and won them that game. I don't want people to overreact to this game, I guess, is kind of my point. I really will always believe if Chicago had won on that final drive from Caleb Williams, that long touchdown run, all anyone would care about is that when it mattered most, he showed poise and made plays in the fourth quarter. And I think you were kind of a bad break away from a memorable Caleb Williams victory over Jayden Daniels. Instead, the narrative is, look at the stat line. Look at how much better Jayden Daniels was. It's like, sure, I guess. But the O-line was rough in Chicago. And I just didn't personally see this massive gap between the two quarterbacks that everyone will point out and talk about. I just didn't feel that way. Let's talk about Minnesota. The Vikings have traded for a new left tackle after their left tackle, Christian Darrisaw, got hurt, tore his ACL and his MCL. The Vikings have traded for left tackle Cam Robinson. They got Cam Robinson. They also got a conditional 7th-round pick that will go away if he plays a ton. The Jaguars are who gave up Cam Robinson. The Jaguars got a conditional 5th-round pick that will become a 4th-round pick if he plays a ton. Basically, it's a 1-year rental at left tackle for Minnesota, where it costs him a 4th-round pick unless there's a catastrophic injury. I I like it. The Vikings are making this move to keep their season alive. They're 5-2. Their left tackle, a crucial part of their offensive line, just got hurt. You got to do whatever you can to keep your season alive. He's 29 years old, Cam Robinson. I like this move a lot. It's Minnesota. I don't know if desperation mode is the right word, but doing what I would call responsible to keep their season alive, stay in contention, give them really good evaluation on Sam Darnold. I love this move a lot. It's aggressive. It's responsible. It's what you should do, I think, if you're Minnesota. Do whatever you can to not... Look, if your left tackle goes down, for a lot of teams, it's very similar to if your quarterback gets hurt. It's borderline season ending. So this was a kind of the only move to make, I think, if you want to stay in contention. And you're in a unique situation where you have to get a good evaluation of Sam Darnold. You have to see what he can do and really kind of figure out what you can do with him next year. So remember, Cam Robinson was franchise tagged a couple times in Jacksonville. He didn't seem like he wanted to be there. The new left tackle for Jacksonville is Walker Little, who's been solid. He's played all right. The Jaguars are 2-6, so you get rid of Cam Robinson on a contract year, get something for him before he leaves. That's kind of how a lot of these trade deadline trades in the NFL ended up happening. It seems with a player on an expiring contract that said, you know what, let's get rid of this guy now before we lose him for nothing in free agency. Now, after Buffalo and Kansas City traded for a wide receiver, the Baltimore Ravens joined the party as well. The Ravens have traded for wide receiver Dionte Johnson from Carolina. The Ravens get Dionte Johnson and a 6th-round pick. Carolina gets a 5th-round pick. It's an all right move for the Ravens. I don't think it's incredible. He's a solid receiver. He's 28 years old, Dionte Johnson. It's a bit redundant. I talked about this with Nathan. I asked if he wanted to come on the show. Not really. His answer was kind of just that it's a receiver very similar to Zay Flowers, and they likely needed a true outside guy. Zay Flowers and Dionte Johnson are very similar players that work inside at the slot, get a lot of balls over the middle. I think to me, what I hear from that with Nathan, I go, okay, well, this move then gives the Baltimore Ravens depth. They can now survive a Zay Flowers injury because they've got another guy with a similar skill set who can do what they do. And also, like, let's give credit to the Ravens. They're going to find ways to use this guy and get him open. But I think even if all that Dionte Johnson brings to the Ravens is depth at receiver, a really crucial position in a year where they're a Super Bowl contender, that's good enough. We'll take it, especially when you saw Buffalo and Kansas City upgrade a little bit at receiver. I think it's kind of an interesting storyline. We're going to see Dionte Johnson play his former team, the Pittsburgh Steelers, twice this year. I think it's interesting. I think for the Ravens, it's a great trade. It's very low risk. It's high reward. Carolina, a lot of people are like, why did Carolina give away Dionte Johnson for nothing? Here's why. The incentive for Carolina was his contract was expiring. Let's get him for something rather than letting him walk away in free agency or something like that, or having to pay him a ton of money. So for Carolina's sake, let's just get something in return for this player. Was it a great trade? I mean, no. Again, they got a 5th-round pick and gave up a 6th-round pick to make this trade happen. But whatever, you get something for something instead of nothing, and I understand the thought. They also sent him from the NFC to the AFC. They didn't send him to a team that's contending and competing with them in their division or anything like that. So it's kind of the rationale for the move. I initially was like, why would Carolina even do that? And then I just was like, well, his contract is expiring. That's kind of the thought, is like, we want to just get the player for something rather than nothing. But that is again, I think the Ravens get a similar player to Zay Flowers for very little, and it gives them some depth. And frankly, a good player. Now, he's been criticized a lot for having a lot of drops. He's not the best receiver in the league. But I think ultimately it's hard to look at this as a bad move for the Ravens at all. It's a very, again, low risk, high reward trade to go get Dionte Johnson, who brings a little bit more to the table to help the Ravens offense. At some point, I'm applying lip chapstick, by the way. At some point, I'm going to have to look up, let's do it now, the Patreon questions. We've got a bunch. For people's understanding, by the way, you write in a question on Patreon. What I do is I look at them on the Patreon website, and I copy pasta them into a Google Doc sheet. So I've got a Google Doc sheet with 7 questions for this episode specifically. I do it every episode. I rebuild. I do Google Docs. I just open it. So we're good. Let's move forward. The Indianapolis Colts have benched their starting quarterback, Anthony Richardson. He's a second-year quarterback, former number 4 overall pick in 2023. They are instead going to turn to Joe Flacco at quarterback, 39-year-old Joe Flacco. A lot of factors play into this move. I think it's worthy of a film analysis. I have now collected, I haven't watched the film, but I've collected it into a file so I can watch and go through it and build a film analysis. For film analysis' sake, I flirted with the idea of doing a Drake May film analysis after a start, doing like his first game, maybe his second game, but I've ultimately just decided I'm compiling all the film of all the rookie quarterbacks in March and April. I'm going to try to put out a video breaking down how their seasons went. So don't expect much, but I think I might be able to do a film analysis on Anthony Richardson before the year is even over, because he's going to stop accumulating more film, assuming he doesn't get back onto the field, assuming Joe Flacco plays the rest of the year as a Colts quarterback. I think it's worthy of a breakdown because Anthony Richardson is incredibly talented. He makes plays that you go, whoa, dude, that throw is special. Like, not very many people on planet Earth can make that play. But as a leader, he's been, I would call him disappointing in Indy, and he's certainly not played great on the field. He's got 4 touchdown passes this year, 7 interceptions. He's run for a touchdown, has a fumble. He's completed 44% of his passes. Like, Anthony Richardson is not blowing up the stat line. There's been some moments where you're like, dude, you're not getting it done. And he left a game. He called his own number because he was fatigued to leave a football game in a crucial moment for the Colts. Ooh, you're the franchise quarterback. Like, you can't be doing that in that moment. So Joe Flacco comes in this year so far and playing in relief of Anthony Richardson. He's really kind of he's very much outshined Anthony Richardson. Joe Flacco has 7 touchdowns, 1 interception. He's 39 years old. Remember, he led the Browns to a huge comeback and a playoff appearance last year. The Colts are 4-4. They're in a crucial spot where they can win. Like, they're not a bad football team. They need good quarterback play if they're going to win and be a contender. And they I think honestly could be a team in the playoffs with good quarterback play from Joe Flacco. So, given that Anthony Richardson has been disappointing as a leader, he hasn't been good enough on the field. They've got a better quarterback sitting there. You kind of have to switch to Joe Flacco. Like, you can't look guys in the eyes in the locker room and go, Anthony Richardson is our quarterback. You're only playing him because of where he was drafted and the expectations there. Everyone in the building knew this is not our best quarterback right now. And you just can't, for the health of the locker room, for the health of the integrity of trying to win games week to week, you can't stick with a quarterback who isn't getting it done when you know you got a better option. Very obviously, everyone can see it, waiting in the wings behind him. So you can't have the locker room give up. You got to switch to Joe Flacco. And it makes total sense to me. I have a question about this. I was going to wait till later, but let's read it now. Here is a question from Ben Barnes. Ben says, and I don't think that's the actor from Narnia, Chronicles of Narnia. Ben Barnes says, "Hey Zach, hope everything's going great with you. I wanted to ask some more about your thoughts on the Anthony Richardson Colts situation. What do you think the future holds for Anthony Richardson? Could he sit behind Joe Flacco for the rest of the year and become what we thought he might become? Or is the relationship between him and the Colts organization now ruined and his future going to happen elsewhere?" Personally, I see no reason why he couldn't still become the Colts franchise quarterback. He's got a lot to learn as a leader and as a player on the field, as a quarterback making decisions, but I don't know if they hate him. I can't imagine they all hate each other. I wouldn't think that. But you have to figure out a viable option at quarterback week to week. Like, you can't have Joe Flacco sitting there, obviously better than Anthony Richardson, and not play him. So I think the move is for the rest of the year. After that, you got to evaluate. Are you going to bring a 40-year-old Joe Flacco back next year to be your quarterback? Probably not. But you can't wait. You have a guy who's not ready to go at quarterback. he's got to sit and learn until he's ready. He's really talented. I think you let him sit, you let him learn, you still teach him, you do whatever you can, but you also can't play Anthony Richardson at the detriment of everyone else on your football team. So I hope that the relationship's saved. I think it's possible. We'll see what the film says. But I think with good coaching, you can coach and fix almost anything, is kind of my belief of coaching. So assuming a lot, Anthony Richardson has a good attitude and is willing to learn and make an effort. Yeah, I think the future for him could still be in Indianapolis with the Colts. And it's just hard to speak to a relationship that I'm not in the room for. But I don't see why that couldn't be the case, that you let him sit the rest of this year and he learns and he grows. And I think that's what he should have done from the beginning. I thought that, you kind of tried that with Gardner Minshew. He was a little better than Gardner. Ideally, though, you would have had Anthony Richardson take a Joe Flacco type approach where you sit and learn for a while until you're ready to go. Sorry, Joe Flacco, a Jordan Love approach where you sit him. He was obviously talented, but he sat and he learned for a while. And by the time he was ready to go, he was a starting quarterback, and you didn't rush that process. I think Anthony Richardson obviously got on the field a little bit before he probably should have. I want to talk about the Tampa Bay Falcons game from last week. There's a play where Antoine Winfield knocks the ball out of Kyle Pitts' hands as he's crossing the goal line. Ball comes out before it crosses the plane, so it should have been ruled a fumble, not a touchdown. And we know that because Sean Barry, a reporter for Fox 13 Tampa Bay, got a better angle than TV crews of the play. You see the ball come out before he crosses the goal line. It got ruled a touchdown. They tried to review it, didn't have a good enough angle. Oh, yeah. Remember, this is a crucial play because the Falcons beat Tampa 31-26. It was the difference in the game. This play early on made a huge difference. And, adding further context, Tampa was playing without their top two wide receivers. Mike Evans hurt. Chris Godwin's out for the year. It's a really bad miss by the refs. But what's even worse, I think, is that NFL replay and camera angles didn't capture an angle that showed this. How is that possible? We have to fix that. It's totally absurd that we don't have a camera angle of the goal line, just straight down the line. We should always have that. It should be a standard thing in the NFL. It's weird that they don't. Every angle is like, we can't quite tell based on the line. It's like, no. Every side of the end zone should have a camera, both left and right should have a camera going straight down the line to get an angle of whether the ball crosses the plane or not. Dude, it's like we should use sensors or something. It's crazy. So this has to be fixed. It's totally fixable. And it's weird that, Tampa, I looked at a little bit of that game and I was like, man, Tampa really hung in there. They should have won. Not only did Tampa do a good job hanging with the Falcons, no, they should have beat the Falcons. Tampa should have beat, even without their top two receivers, they were in a position where if that call is made properly, Tampa would have beaten Atlanta. And that's a stinging, painful thing. It makes me look at the Falcons a little bit differently. Oh, like you're just not what I thought you were going to be. And it makes me respect Tampa, but feel kind of fired up for them. They got screwed over. It's painful. That's tough. It's no good. All right, let's end the show today. End is the funny word because what's going to happen, I'm going to read Patreon questions, and then I'm going to cut to a clip, like an hour-long clip of me and Austin the other night talking about the World Series. So a lot of show to go, honestly, but it will conclude this brief recording with me. If you want to support the show, go to patreon.com/Zach Schaumler. Patreon.com/Zach Schaumler. It's $1 a month. You can donate more if you want to. Please do. But $1 a month gives you access to submit questions on Patreon. Question number 1 today comes from Landon. Landon says, hey, Zach. Oh, he doesn't have a question. I don't have a question, but I wanted to share something cool that my people participate in annually. For context, I'm of Hmong descent, and we are an ethnic group originating from the regions in China. Every year in Minnesota, we have a Hmong July 4th festival where everyone gathers together to celebrate heritage and host sporting events. One of those sports is flag football. I highly recommend you check out videos and highlights of Hmong flag football, specifically the 2023 Animosity game on J4th, where it was a bit of a nail-biter until the end. They're very fun to watch, and the athletes are all sorts of age ranges, mainly high school and above. The games are very competitive as everybody just flies to the ball. Offensive line and defensive line get some love too. Of course, there's more to the festival, but I think it's so awesome how they provide a space for athletes. Love your consistency, Zach. Keep up the greatness. Dude, I love flag football. I really think that's something that we should all, like, if you played in high school or college and you want to play a little bit, get involved and do it. It's so cool. Oh my gosh, this video is real. There's your average FFF flag football fan has a little, like, a YouTube channel, and he films these. Whoa, hold on. It's a big event. I'm watching this video, dude. It's actually like a ton of people and ladies and guys, and they're all playing football, and it looks so fun. Oh my gosh, dude! If you want to, again, the title of this video is 2023 Animosity versus Game Over Hmong Flag Football J4th Tournament. Dude, it's a massive deal. Like, this really is a huge whole event. It's a bunch of guys of one ethnic group that good for them. Oh, and one white guy snapping hilariously. But it's just I don't know if they would let me participate in this, but either way, it looks really fun. I would have never guessed that this is just a massive group of people playing flag football. This is awesome. I love this. Oh man, I would kill to participate. It's so fun. If I can, maybe I'll put what's on screen, what I'm looking at in the podcast on video. But I mean, it's nothing crazy, or it just looks like fun to participate in an event this big. There's food. I'm seeing food trucks, and dude, I'm going to Minnesota in February. Logan lives there. I'm gonna go see Logan and his lady, should be fiance Logan. You gotta get on it, man. I'm gonna go see Logan soon, and I am very excited. In that trip, I'm gonna go to see Logan in Minnesota. I'm gonna go to Pittsburgh. That's in February. But Minnesota winters are cold and long, which is why I'm gonna go check it out in February. I want to see what that's like. But the summers in Minnesota, I grew up there as a kid, and Minnesota summers really are like really awesome, really, really special. So, Landon, thanks for writing in. I think that you're, again, the Hmong flag football is, again, I don't think they would let me participate. If you look at me and my complexion, I'm not probably qualified, but that would be really fun. Flag football is awesome, guys. If you miss football, you want to participate, get a group of guys together and play. It's always possible to get people together. It's more easy than you would think to find people in your town to play flag football, and it's so much fun to do. Reefer Madness writes in, says, "Hi, Zach's eyeballs. I've spent a decent amount of time in Oregon, and I've romanticized the idea of moving there for a while. I had a job at Crater Lake about a year ago, and I truly miss it. Where are some of your favorite hikes and scenic spots in Oregon? Thanks for delivering great content. Your show helps me get through my workday. Much love to you." Reefer Madness, man. My favorite spots, Oregon coast, great. I went there just last weekend with my lady and her mom, and it was so much fun and really, really cool. So the Oregon coast is great. I really like the Oregon coast in the winter, actually, when it's not really snowy, it's rainy. It's unique here when it's like really, really cold and in the teens here in Portland. People don't realize it gets that cold occasionally. If you drive an hour and a half, west to the Oregon coast, it's going to be like 55 because the ocean regulates the temperature a little bit and keeps the warmth up, actually. So it's always a little bit warmer or a little bit colder. It's not as extreme temperature fluctuations on the Oregon coast. I love that. It's beautiful. It's cool. It's always green and wet, and I love it. And then I lived in downtown Portland, I guess, to be straight up. But outside of Portland is Mount St. Helens, the Gifford Pinchot National Forest, where you've got St. Helens and Mount Adams. I've climbed St. Helens. I've stood on top of it, looked out. That's really, really cool. There's pictures of that on Instagram if you want to find it. But it's great to camp. And the thing I love about Oregon, I really like the state of Pennsylvania, for example. Pennsylvania they've made it illegal to camp in your car without a permit. It's very difficult. You have to go to specific campsites, and you can't just park anywhere in the woods and go camping. In Oregon, there is dispersed camping in the Northwest in general. You can camp in your car. And so does that affect the amount of homeless population outside of my apartment? Yes. Is there people camped downstairs below my apartment building right now, doing all kinds of insane things? Yes, that does mean that. But that's a negative. The benefit to me is that I can go in the woods and camp wherever I want. There's not really a problem. And I love that about Oregon. It's hard to leave that. I have a truck that I love camping in. It's really, really cool. I built it out in a special way. You can drive pretty much anywhere into national forest land or BLM land, or frankly, any old logging road that isn't, being used and go camp. And it's awesome. And it's just not the same. You can't say that about a place like Pennsylvania. And that's a difficult thing for me. So I love Oregon. Most of my adventures have happened in the Gifford-Pinchot National Forest or the Oregon coast. But I love Long Beach as well. I think a listener to the show lives there, Joe. Is it Longview? Long Beach? I think it's Long Beach. Long Beach. Longview is up the Columbia River. And then I've never really been out east in Oregon. That's the Wallowa Mountains. That's Enterprise, Oregon. That's some desert that I'm not a big desert guy. It's also far away, but I'd like to go there at some point before anyway, I'd like to go there at some point. So, it's interesting. Crater Lake and Bend they're kind of dry. They don't compel me that much, but they're cool. I respect them. I like the rain and the wet and the green, to be honest. But Rafer, I hope that answers your question. Joe writes in, Joe says, "What's up, Zach Alicious? Currently, I'm going for a coaching job for my second favorite sport, basketball. I know the sport fairly well, and I greatly enjoy it, but football is my primary sport, easily being the one I know best. I seem well set to get the job. The community I live in has little passion for coaching. I know it'd be, I know I'd be a good coach, but going into a sport where I don't know as well as my best, there's uncertainty. So my question to you is, when you became a coach for some time, for the time you were, did you have uncertainties or doubts about your abilities? If so, how did you handle them? If not, why do you think that was? Thank you. Can't wait to see the Chargers in the Super Bowl this year. My delusions know no bounds." I think it's important to be honest about what you don't know, at minimum with yourself. You don't want to advertise there's a lot of stuff you don't know. And I wouldn't bring up problems until you can offer solutions. But approach this with humility, with kindness, earn respect. I encourage, look up Dan Casey, the football coach. I know it's a different sport, but he still can teach you a lot about the philosophy of coaching. Build a plan, sell your plan to your players, connect with them, do the best you can. And be honest about what you don't know, at minimum with yourself. Don't put yourself in a position where you're just always like, I suck and I know nothing. Like, don't do that. But and also research. Like, you can learn, dude, in today's climate, in 2024, you can learn anything on the internet. You can learn a lot about coaching basketball, I bet, very, very quickly. If you're coaching, it sounds like you're probably coaching at a lower level, like minimum JV, probably more like 8th grade basketball, something like that. Dude, you'll be fine. You can do great. Do some research. Make sure you sound like you know what you're talking about. But whatever, honestly, whatever you don't know the answer, you can find an answer to quickly and solve problems. And so I've got no doubt you're going to be fine. I don't really relate because I will say, so when I started coaching, I was an offensive coordinator. The running game is what I didn't know as well. I know the passing game really, really well. I had a really good game plan. The running game I didn't. And so I met with a lot of coaches to learn the running game as quickly as I could. A good friend of mine is a head coach in Ridgefield. And him and I sat down, we talked run game. He was very, very helpful to me. Had a couple other conversations over Zoom with coaches around the country that were very, very informative and helped me with the run game. I knew that was a weakness of my knowledge on the offensive side of the football. I learned a lot really quickly. I solved that problem. And then on top of that, when I started coaching, I was an offensive coordinator for a month. We'll say we parted ways. I got fired. They didn't want to make changes that I thought they should. And I spoke out of turn too. Let's be very clear about that. But I met with the who was going to be the offensive line coach and said, "Hey, show me what you like about the running game." And then I tried to build a run game that reflected what he knew and he had a good understanding of. And because I knew if I'm going to coach with this guy and he's going to coach my offensive lineman, he's got to be able to teach things he has a good understanding of. And so you got to work to the strengths of the people around you as well. But my point is, if you don't know the answer to something, you can find it very quickly. And Joe, you'll be fine. I have no doubt you're going to do a fine job. And kind, humble, have humility, earn respect of the people around you, and find solutions, find answers to the problems you don't know the answer to. You're going to be fine. Sid writes in. Sid says he's a Giants fan. Sid says, our Giants rookie running back is looking great. More yards per carry this year than Saquon Barkley had. He said Saquon blankly, not Barkley, ever had in a season as a Giant. So more yards per carry than Saquon Barkley ever had. Not saying he's a better player, but we have replaced a majority of his production at a fraction of the cost and used the money we saved on his contract to get Brian Burns and the offensive line some depth. As Joe Shane said in Hard Knocks, we aren't paying Danny Dimes $40 million a year to hand it off to Saquon Barkley. He calls him Danny Crimes. I love that. No, I think you're right. I think the running back situation right now, I'm blanking on the kid's name, the 5th-round pick in New York. He's kind of doing great. And I think, do you miss Saquon? A little bit, sure, but Tyrone Tracy Jr., the 5th-round pick out of Purdue, he's a rookie running back. He's doing great. And I think, is he Saquon Barkley? I guess not, but you got a lot of the same production out of him for way, way less money. And it's a good answer and a good solution for the Giants. I think, Sid, you're right. That's awesome. I like you calling it Saquon Barkley and Danny Crimes. That's funny. But Sid, I think you guys are onto something there with the running back position. It's going very, very well. Troy says, hello to Zach's eyeballs again. Who is your QB1 for the 2025 draft? Personally, as a Raiders fan, I would want Cam Ward to be drafted, and I know you're high on them. But how do you feel about the other quarterbacks in the coming draft class? I don't love a lot of the quarterbacks. What is it? Shitter, Sanders. It's ugly, man. Shitter, Sanders, Jackson Dart, Garrett Nussmeier, Miller Moss is probably not. I don't know. It's okay. To me, Garrett Nussmeier and Miller Moss are probably a bit underrated. They're probably going to fall in the draft a little bit and end up being better than people realize. I really like Cameron Ward. Cameron Ward's the obvious number one. He's the best quarterback available by a mile. And that's who I would want to draft. If I had the number one pick, that's the kid I would draft without a question in my mind. On a final question of the day today, Jake V says, yo, Carter, Zach, and Lemonade. Sorry, Nate's not here. You wrote in. I just took this from a different post from an earlier episode. The Cowboys have been a mess off the field and on the field, to be fair, recently. For one, if you didn't see, it looks like the Cowboys blurred the scoreboards at AT&T Stadium in their loss to the Lions because of how badly they lost. Plus, Jerry Jones' interviews recently have been genuinely concerning. I'm not trying to make fun of him or anything, but he legitimately reminds me of my grandfather becoming senile in his old age. Things like suddenly lashing out at people during interviews after a routine and generally respectful question and publicly talking about his players inappropriately. My question is, how do you think this would affect the locker room? How would you feel as a player seeing all of that off-the-field drama, and would it affect how you play on the field? Obviously, him being so involved hurts the team, but do you think his comments and actions like blurring the scoreboard are directly hurting the morale of the team? P.S. My new favorite part of the show is Nate saying something like, and the quarterback fit balls into tight holes really well, and Zach trying his hardest not to laugh. You're right. Nathan has a knack for saying things that are wildly inappropriate about football. I mean, football lends itself to that. Tight end. It's a small hole. It's like, whoa, you said what now? Say it again. That sounded crazy. There's lots of moments like that, and that football lends itself to. I think the short answer, just to really get to the point where you're making, Jerry Jones is the problem in the Cowboys. I think everyone knows that. Does that affect the locker room? I think, yeah. They know the guy building the team isn't great. They're just there. I think the Cowboys locker room, I would imagine, given all the nonsense that happens, guys are there for a paycheck. They're there to do their best, and I'm sure they've lost faith in the direction of the organization. I mean, you kind of, when you're at a place that's struggling like that, you feel like you lost the plot. You're like, well, I'm going to do the best I can to make as much money as I can out of this moment. And try to set myself up for the next move. I don't think that people in Dallas think they have a shot at a Super Bowl, for example. And I think they all recognize the nonsense going on. Does it affect the locker room? Yeah. Is it massive? No, but it affects the morale. It affects every day when you're going to work and you don't feel good about where you're going because you don't like the culture that's been cultivated there and the leadership of the place you're working at. It's a problem. And so undoubtedly, without a shadow of a doubt, it affects people because it affects the belief in the mission. It affects the belief in what you're doing and the belief in the people at the top. And when you don't believe in the top of your company, you do your best. You work kind of like a mercenary to get what you can out of it. But you certainly, in a situation like what you see in Dallas, you see guys who end up there for themselves because they kind of have to be, because they know that this place isn't going to serve them and their needs for very, very long. All right, this weekend on my radar, kind of preparing for next episode, me and Nathan are going to talk on episode 679. Ohio State, Penn State's going to be great. It's happening. It's about to start. Oregon at Michigan is really fun in college football. Lions, Green Bay is really interesting. The Broncos, Ravens game. The Bills, Dolphins game in Buffalo. Caleb Williams, I want to see him bounce back after a rough game. They play in 4-4 Arizona Cardinals team. Philly beat the Bengals last week. They host the Jaguars this week. Nathan's really a big believer that Jaguars got a shot to beat Philly. That'll be interesting for them. So Lions, Denver, Bills, Philly, Caleb Williams, Oregon, Michigan, and Ohio State, Penn State are all the things we're probably going to talk about next week on Monday night. Now I'm going to cut to a conversation I had with Austin. We recorded this on Thursday night. My hair is literally longer. It's been a day and a half now since that got recorded, but please enjoy now a clip of me and Austin talking about the World Series, how it resolved. And guys, I'll see you on the next one. Have a great day and enjoy. Joining me now is my good friend, Austin. Austin, how are you, man?
Good, man. How you doing, Zach?
I'm doing really good. I love the Buzz Lightyear costume. It's very clear you were just trick-or-treating. Happy Halloween, by the way. It's Halloween Eve, technically. That's the 31st.
Yeah, it is. It's I don't wear this regularly all the time.
What do you mean? It's your daily driver, right? That's what you wear every day.
You're not the first person who suggested that it would be funny if I just started wearing this like day to day.
You kind of pull it off too. I'm not gonna lie. Like even Molly was like, "Dude, Austin like really killed his outfit or his costume for Halloween this year."
Amazon, like
really.
So what we kind of strategically dressed me up in a way that you couldn't see it as well. I wore like the Old Navy active like tights, so like it looks like it blended in, but like I'm pretty tall, so like the legs stopped like at my shins, so I look like, fittingly enough, like a 1920s like baseball player, like with the baggy like high pants.
Yeah.
So in pictures, I think it came out all right, but it looks kind of hilarious now when I'm dressed down a little bit.
Yeah, people only ever see you sitting in like your office / guest room, so we wouldn't know you're 6'4". Like you're not a small individual.
Yeah, no, it's I didn't have a lot of faith in the Amazon. This is also one piece, like you step into it like a jumpsuit.
Oh my God.
So like I didn't have like a lot of faith in like the Amazon jumpsuit one piece Halloween costume for like a 6'4", 6'5" like person, and it could have been better, but it could have been a lot worse. So I'll take it.
Look, I know we're talking about baseball in a minute, but I do have to ask because I've always had this question with costumes like that. How the hell do they size them? Like, because I don't know even where I would begin. Like, what size do I wear in a Buzz Lightyear costume? I have no idea. How do they do that?
I didn't buy it. Steph bought it for me. Like, she bought like all of our costumes at once, and she was like, we discussed what we wanted to be, and then I let her like kind of facilitate the purchase of these things. So we went as Toy Story. So I was Buzz Lightyear. She was Little Bo Peep, and she had like the shepherd's cane thing, and our daughter was one of the aliens, the green men, like alien.
It was great.
You know the deal. You saw the pictures, but for the listeners, yeah.
Can I put it on screen? Good. Is that weird? Is that
go
like?
Ahead. Go for it.
I actually think your family like looked awesome. I was like, oh wow,
it went really well. It was a good costume year for us. Yeah, it was good.
But again, I go back to this. Is it like small, medium, large, XL too? Like, is that how they size?
Yes, that's how this was sized. Like, I don't think it's, you don't like, it's not like numbered measurements. Like, you buy it like,
dude, at least this shot in the dark for me. I would be so terrified. Like,
my default is just like the biggest size. Like, I just like buy the biggest size thing, and then like go from there. I legitimately don't know. Like, if I didn't have that as like as a measuring stick, so to say, like I don't. If we swap bodies and you were like buy a Buzz Lightyear costume, I would be like, large, I guess. I don't even know. Like, I think I don't know.
Dude,
Like,
I wear as small as medium sometimes, and
okay.
then most stuff I wear XL. So like, it really is like my
Mhm.
boss is buying its new uniforms for work, and really like I'm like XL, I think, but like honestly, if it's swimming on me, I apologize. We'll have to redo it because like you never really know. Everything fits so
No.
weird and
Like,
different.
yeah. Yeah.
Um,
It's worse for women too. My God. I
oh,
can't
dude,
imagine. Go
yeah,
store to
oh yeah.
store. The jeans are different sizes.
Yeah, I
Wow.
couldn't even. I'm so glad at least I'm a guy. It's fairly simple for me. Anyway, let's jump into baseball.
This is a
I,
great
I
open.
you look. You can't record at Halloween Eve and not talk about it. Oh, by the way, did your daughter have fun? I would think like that's the
She
key
had
to
a
the night,
good
right?
time. So in Seattle, it's rainy as it is in October. We didn't do a ton of like walking around trick or treating because she got kind of tired and it was wet outside. We had the umbrellas, but so
Yeah.
we walked around our little neighborhood. Got some good treats. Someone had like a 12-foot tall skeleton, so that really freaked her out. Her
Oh,
first couple
no.
of Halloweens here, she was like too young to be like acknowledge fear, and
Hmm.
now she like is scared of stuff. So she saw the skeleton and she was like, "Whoa!" But that house, I will say credit to them. They give out the full size candy, so they're going to scare you to
Hmm.
death, but they're going to make it worth it. So, and I think they even gave her two because she was like in tears at the door.
Oh
So
my God.
they were like, "We're sorry. Here's two Twixes or something." So
I think my opinion has changed now, right? Like I'm an adult. I'm becoming more of a family man. I see myself someday. Honestly, I'll probably never participate in Halloween because I think the next move is going to be onto property and just in the woods, and like no one
mhm.
goes to your house in the woods to do trick or treating. Honestly, I'm going to avoid living in a traditional neighborhood if I can, if that's possible, because I'll go from apartment to like property. I hope. But when I lived in a house before, like in the old days of Strong Opinion Sports, I hated Halloween because I'm like 21. I didn't opt into this. I don't want kids coming to my
To
door.
your
I
door,
like
you
was
can
the guy
turn
with
your
the
light
light off.
off. Yeah, yeah.
I don't want to do. I don't want to buy your kids candy. I don't want to participate. I'm in the corner a lot. Like, just please leave me. I was like an 80-year-old man. It's like, stay off my lawn and leave me alone.
I'm like the opposite. I even like before like we had our daughter. Like I was like I would get like she would yell at me for like giving away too big of handfuls of candy to people. I'm like keep it all like I told her she laughed at me because I literally told her like 2 hours ago. I was like I think it'd be fun if one year we like really splurged and we're like we give like individually boxed like C's candies and like Ferrero Rochers. Let's be
Jeez.
luxurious. Like
No, dude, I'm so cheap. Like I buy clothes at Goodwill as much as I can. Like for real. Like, 'cause I just
yeah.
don't, I'm a cheap guy. I really, I think I'm learning that
Part
as
of
I
me
get
is like
older.
I don't think like an 8-year-old would appreciate like a C's candy versus like a mini pack of
Nah,
M&Ms.
nah.
So I don't know. That maybe that's me like hoping that I could. I don't know.
And look, maybe I should call myself frugal. But I love a good deal. Like I just bought a
Yeah.
bunch of Carhartt pants at Sierra, like Trading Post, and they were $20, and I was like, I'm buying three. Like that's three for the price of one. Basically, I was like, I'm buying as many Carhartt pants as I can feel comfortably, comfortable
The
doing right now.
flannel, you're on brand.
Yeah, dude, I really am. Like I dress like a carpenter, like in my everyday life. Anyway, back to the fucking point. Baseball. The Dodgers beat the Yankees in the World Series in 5 games. Despite it being, look, the series wasn't what you and I touted it to be. We talked about
Wasn't. Nope.
maybe it going 7 games, being crazy back and forth. It was really a gentleman's sweep. I thought Game 5 was actually kind of a microcosm of the entire series. We can get into what that means and why. But I got to say, even though it was relatively short, it wasn't as competitive as I thought, it wasn't as back and forth as I thought, I did really enjoy the series. I had a great time. It was meaningful. It mattered. By the end, the Dodgers were up, and I was like, I just kind of want to root for the Dodgers kind of happily. I actually was rooting for the sweep. It didn't happen. I will admit part of that was I'm like, hey, the sooner the series gets over with, the sooner I can record about it with Austin. But I actually really enjoyed it. It was a good series. It was, even though it was a gentleman's sweep, it was close in those games. What'd you make of the series from a high level view? Did you enjoy it? What are your thoughts on the Dodgers beating the Yankees in 5 games?
I did enjoy it. The Dodgers' path to victory, I think, kind of mirrored what I thought it would be, although I didn't think it would be so quick. A gentleman's sweep in every facet of the term. I mean, even Game 4, the game the Yankees won, they were the Dodgers tossed out like minor league level pitching to get the Yankees a win there. Not, of course, on purpose, but I mean, the 4 games where you felt like the Dodgers were giving you their best in terms of pitching, all games they won. Game 5, they certainly should not have won. Game 1, you could even argue they probably shouldn't have won either. But
Yeah.
And I'm, from you said top down, like Yankee fans, this is going to be a bad one for you, because I know like what I want to talk about is a lot of New York Yankees, and it's not good. So I'll let you drive a little bit from here, but I think as far as like top down, yeah, I mean, the Dodgers did a lot of what I thought they had to win. Obviously, they won it in 5. Really tough effort from the Yanks, I think, in this one.
Let's start actually by talking about Game 4. That was the one game the Yankees won.
Mm-hmm.
And it did feel like the Dodgers kind of let their foot off the gas. That the Yankees got a bit of a lead. The Dodgers, John Smoltz on the broadcast even talked about it. Like, they're not going to chase it with arms. They're not going to try to put their best arms out there. It was kind of conceding a game peacefully. Like, in fact, even John Smoltz even said this, like, that's the luxury of a 3-0 lead, is you can take a day, let your guys rest, let your bullpen kind of figure it out. It was a bullpen game, and it wasn't the Dodgers doing everything they could decision making wise from a strategy standpoint to try to win that series. Is that kind of how you viewed that Game 4 as well?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm just looking back at like who threw in Game 4. It's Kasparius opens, gives you 2 innings. Hudson gets demolished in his 1 inning of work. Landon Knack, who threw 69 innings of work in the regular season, and then Honeywell, who threw 50 pitches in his single inning of work as the consummate mop-up guy. He gets shelled in the 8th inning. Yeah, I mean, this was very clearly the Dodgers like, okay, we're up 3-0. I saw it as them essentially buying a day of rest for their like ace level bullpen and starting pitching, and they're just, let's get through today. If we win, great. We're not going to chase it. To your point, I thought they did a good job of not chasing it because that game was kind of a game early, and I was very curious how Dodgers manager Dave Roberts approached that game, especially as it was closer early on. It was headed into the 4th inning, it was 5-2, and it's like, the Dodgers not out of this game yet. Does Roberts pivot and maybe try to actually like really win this thing? I thought it was smart that he didn't chase it, and that paid dividends the next day.
Yeah, I think when I think about the Dodgers and the way they won, and I should know this. I don't. I assume Freddie Freeman officially was the World Series MVP, correct?
Yes,
yeah. I mean, it's so obvious. I didn't even really like find the official.
It's one of the
thing.
most obvious award wins like since Reggie Jackson. Like it was clear he was going to win it. It was clear after Game 3 he was going to win it.
Yeah. Yeah, he homered in 4 of the 5 games, including a walk-off grand slam. That was fun. I'm not going to lie. I just really enjoyed I like him. He seems like a good guy. I've always liked him from afar, and watching him succeed, getting is this a second ring, or I don't think it was there in 2020.
This is second.
Yeah, he won at the
Braves. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just cool. I really like Freddie Freeman. It's cool to root for him. I also find myself, the Yankees, how do I say this? The Dodgers, excuse me. The Dodgers made a big bet on Shohei Ohtani, and it paid off already. And that's cool to see, because I wondered, hey, they just gave this insane $700 million contract to Shohei Ohtani. How long until this pays off, and does it ever pay off? Because if you give away that contract, the expectation is at some point during this run, you're going to win a World Series or a couple. And for it to pay off as quickly as it did is really cool. It's everyone in LA can breathe a sigh of relief, like, okay, yeah, hey, it was all worth it. It was already worth it, let alone what's going to come in the coming years. I think that's the cool narrative and an angle here, is that the Shohei Ohtani move already won them a World Series, allowing them to build a great team around him. And then I think of Dave Roberts, the manager, who I thought he's got a lot of criticism. He's had his moments. I think at times, like we even talked earlier before, if it doesn't go well for the Dodgers, does he maybe lose his job? Like, which manager is maybe going to pay the price for this? And we'll talk about, Aaron Boone next and whether he will or will not. But I thought Dave Roberts did a really great job, and is actually a huge part of why they won the World Series. You can't control everything. You can't control Freddie Freeman having a great series, but everything he could control from a strategy standpoint, from a decision-making standpoint, as a tactician, he did a great job. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I thought he was great. And you mentioned it. I think there's a lot of moments you can point to in Roberts' tenure as the manager of the Dodgers. Is like, there's little landmines throughout this series that it's like, oh, okay, is this going to be where it happens? And the biggest one to me, as we just mentioned, was that Game 4. It's like, okay, does he start chasing now? I thought this is one of those things where people play the results, right? If you make the decision and it goes well, then you're a genius. If you don't, it goes horribly, and then you're an idiot. You should be fired. There were a few of those that it's like, oh, okay, this is like a teetering decision for Roberts and for Boone, frankly. And for one manager, it went generally better, and then for the other, it clearly didn't. We'll see what the fallout of that is, and we'll obviously we'll get into it. But yeah.
Well, let's say it too. They lost Game 4. The Yankees won 11-4 over the Dodgers, and they were up 2-5 after 3 innings. And instead of trying to fight back and pivot, he took a deep breath and went, "Okay, well, all right. This is the one. This is our bullpen game. We're going to figure it out. We're gut it out. We're fine. We're not going to panic in this moment." And I guess it's hindsight 2020, but I also thought in the moment that's the right move to not try to bring, I don't know, what if you brought out Yamamoto or something on short rest and we're like, let's try to overcome this, and they didn't do anything crazy or anything weird,
or like Kopech or Trainin or one of their more established bullpen arms who I believe both played in Game 5.
They saved them for another day. They're just like, hey,
exactly.
let's take this one.
That's what I genuinely think it was. That I think that the approach maybe is different if you don't go into that game 3. I think they always plan on throwing the bullpen game in Game 4, but how quick the leash was with some of their B arms, we'll call them, I think were dependent on how the first 3 games went. But when you're going, you're up 3-0, you're guaranteed at that point at least 2 more home games, which they didn't get back to LA, but you're guaranteed that shot. I think Game 4 was executed. It's hard to say it was executed perfectly when you lose 11-4. There's obviously a lot that went wrong there. But I think that from a managerial, as you said, tactician point of view, I think that went as fine as it could have because it paid off the very next day.
Yeah, and look, the Dodgers talked about this literally right after winning the World Series, but they won in 2020, and it was a year where it's a short season, kind of weird circumstances. I think a lot of people kind of knock on that. You're very similar actually to the LA Lakers get knocked on. They won in the bubble. It's not a real title. This is one you can't take away from them. And I think that's cool too. I think that really matters to the Dodgers. We know we won then, but this is one that there's no caveat. There's no asterisk. You can't criticize us for. This is a legit World Series on a real season, 162 games. We did it the right way. I find that
Walker Buehler said that in his interview immediately after he met with Ken Rosenthal. He said, you can't take this one away. And what they were saying before, this is
who is that? That was Walker Buehler, correct?
Yeah. Guy who started starting pitcher with a 3-out save in the 9th inning.
Yeah, awesome. I just, you don't like everyone that wins a title. Some people, are villains, and the Dodgers are not a villain. I find the Dodgers likable and cool, and I'd like to see them back next year. I thought they ingratiated themselves. I don't know exactly what it is about them. I don't know if it's that Freddie Freeman has this compelling story or Shohei's really cool, but I just found myself I kind of like this Dodgers team. It's cool to see them win, and I would love to see them back again next year. And I wouldn't mind if it was these 2 teams again next year, frankly. Anything you want to add about the Dodgers? I liked what they did. I think it was a fun run for them.
It's an incredibly likable team. And I think that, and we mentioned this, I think before in our kind of preview episode of this show we did talking about this series, that we're kind of all trained to not like the big payroll, big market teams, because especially in baseball where it feels like, your team, quote unquote, the Mariners or teams like the Rays, these kind of just feel like feeder programs to the coastal high, big market, high payroll teams. Guys are getting poached left, right, and center every year from these smaller clubs. So you're kind of conditioned to not like these teams. And I get that, and I kind of agree. But Shohei Ohtani is so likable. Mookie Betts is so likable. Freddie Freeman is so likable. Teoscar Hernandez is so likable. Max Muncy is so. It's such a likable group of guys. They're wearing the Dodgers crest, and their payroll is gigantic, and they play in LA, and these are all valid reasons for not wanting them to win. But up and down the roster, these are cool, likable, easy to root for guys, and I like the way they play baseball. So I've got no qualms.
Well, it's an interesting story. So this paid off. They won a World Series, and I wonder how many more they can win. Maybe while they got their current guys together. But this team deferred a ton of money. They owe. In 38 and 39, they owe Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, and Shohei Ohtani a combined $83 million. And then the next year in 2040, they owe those 3 a combined $84 million. So a lot of their money has been pushed and kicked down the road. I want to see them win as many World Series. Logically, that's the plan, is how many World Series can we win in this period of time? I don't know what the Dodgers look like in 20 years. Or I guess 15 years from now. I don't know if that's just going to hamstring the organization. They clearly don't care. I find that cool that, hey, they found an outside the box way to try to build the team now and win a World Series. And frankly, I think it's a smart strategy that I wouldn't mind seeing rewarded with multiple World Series titles, especially again, because they're not villains. These are people like Shohei is just awesome. I don't know how you don't like Shohei. And I like that the strategy already paid off. I didn't think it was going to work out this quickly that they would win a World Series, to be honest. And
what
it's cool
a 10-month run for Shohei, right? I mean,
yeah.
I mean, short of not being able to pitch this year, recovering, but he signs a near $750 million contract. He has an MVP. He's going to win. Should unanimously win the NL MVP. He's got a World Series ring. Yeah, what a run!
And now he'll pitch next year, right? Like,
man, yeah,
that's crazy, dude. They're going to be better next year because of that. Like,
well, look at the pitchers on like the IR for this team, or on the IL for this team. Like Kershaw obviously is like the big one,
yeah.
But I mean, guys like Joe Kelly, Tyler Glasnow, like they've got a good rotation, like hurt right now.
Yeah.
And then obviously you're adding in Flaherty, who was a deadline acquisition for them, is going to be there for the whole season. You've already got Walker Buehler. Like you're adding Shohei. You're effectively adding a Cy Young level pitcher in the offseason for free because you're getting Shohei Ohtani back and healthy.
The story to me, and maybe why I like this Dodgers team, a outside the box, risky, different move was rewarded with a World Series title. And I like that. I like when people do different things that is not the norm and they do stuff outside the box. That's very clearly what the Dodgers did in the way they built this team and constructed the roster. And I just like that. I think that's good for baseball. Maybe not. Maybe you don't agree. Maybe other people don't agree. But for me, I go, that's cool. I wish more people took an outside the box approach and did different things to try to find a different angle to win a World Series.
I mean, it does help. And, I agree with you. It does help that they play in a market where someone like Shohei Ohtani is willing to like take deferred money and come play for you. Cause like, I don't know, the Reds hypothetically could have offered Shohei Ohtani $700 million deferred and he would have said, thanks, but no thanks. Like it's hard to not talk about just the inherent advantages that being in an LA or New York type of market lends you.
Well, there's a couple advantages, if I may. Like they talked about this during the broadcast, actually, with the Yankees. They go and they're sitting at dinner and they're looking around and they're like, man, the weather is great here. It's like 70 degrees.
Pinstripes. Or the Dodgers, you mean, not the Yankees. Yeah.
Well, the Yankees were trying to recruit him and they're like, man, how do we compete with this? But it's not only the weather. It's not only LA. It's also, I think this matters. And maybe I'm outside the box here too, or, I'm out of left field here, but I would imagine proximity to Japan has to matter. That's a lot shorter flight to get home for him than it is from New York. And
that was a part of his that came out at some point during the like where is he going to go conversation. He wanted to stay ideally on the West Coast. Now there's obviously not a lot of teams there, you know, relative to the rest of the league. You only have a few like true West Coast teams. But I think it's absolutely like a huge reason that the Dodgers were able to lure him in. The fact that he was already essentially established in the city. I mean, he just had to move down the road and he's on the West Coast. It's easy to get home. Yeah. And I think that mattered a lot.
That's the other part of the story is Shohei got away from the Angels, right? He got out of, we've seen Mike Trout stifled and just locked in a closet basically for years. Ohtani gets away and immediately wins a world title. Honestly, it actually reminds me of a similar move in football where Tom Brady went from the Patriots to Tampa and won a Super Bowl almost immediately. Different levels in stages of career, but still a player that won in their first year. It's even maybe another guy, Matthew Stafford, went from the Lions to the Rams, found a team that was ready to go. He won a World Series year one in LA. It's a similar story. And I just like it.
Yeah, no, and it's super likable guy too. I think there's, if this is a guy that you don't like, then for sure, then it's like, oh, okay, it's funny how sports fans, how we look at that. If it's like a guy that is genuinely thought of as not likable, then it's like, oh, this guy going to the big market team, chasing his way to a ring, whatever, doing the Kevin Durant thing. Everybody hated Kevin Durant in the summer of 2016, going to Golden State, but it's like a guy that we like. So it's like, yeah, good for him. I'm guilty of it, but I love it. Like, I'm glad it worked out for Shohei.
So let's talk about Game 5 specifically and how that kind of is, I would say, an example for the way the Yankees lost. First of all, I feel kind of bad for Garrett Cole. He
Do
He made a mistake. He didn't cover first. That cost him. There was a bit of him and Anthony Rizzo had that moment where, you got 2 outs. That would have been the final out of the inning. But you also had 5 unearned runs in a game where I thought he pitched a great game. And
no
they
hitter
really,
through 4. He was shoving. Like it was an incredible effort on the bump for him through 4 innings, and then you get to the 5th and it explodes.
And I think if that 5th inning doesn't go south, right? If the outs are made rather than missed, and they have 5 unearned runs, I think he might even have pitched the entire game. Like that was how it was. He was dominating because even after that stretch, he still pitched a couple good spots after that disaster nightmare of an inning. Or I mean, look again. I want to be very clear. He should have covered first. Like he had some accountability in that, but I thought his team let him down, especially Judge letting the ball drop. And there was even another one where it came down pretty quick at the warning track, but I thought that was catchable too.
That's the Teoscar deep fly that scores 3 or that scores Betts and Freeman.
So, man, I feel bad for Garrett Cole. But there were so many times during this series where I felt like, hey, do the Yankees realize they're playing for a World Series, or do they want to win a World Series? Like there were moments where they got 2 strikes and they're not even swinging at pitches that are close. And it's like, dude, that's the most obvious thing I've ever known about baseball as a kid was if you got 2 strikes and it's close to the strike zone, you got to swing because the ump is going to ring you up if it's anywhere near the zone, and you can't leave it in the hands of the ump. And so many times this Yankees lineup just didn't swing the bat. And I was like, what are we doing? And Aaron Judge had a terrible, he finally had a home run in the final game, but he had a really terrible series. And I just think on top of, the Dodgers won, the storyline is that the Yankees just totally fell apart.
It's Judge, right? Like we can say that. The series is Judge. Like it's ironic that like the game in which he redeems himself, he hits a big home run. I think he singled in. He had another hit later in that game. He had 2 RBIs. He walked twice. A true Judge game. Like he had at the dish.
Batting.
Phenomenal. Batting, yes. At the dish was phenomenal in Game 5. Like it's the Judge you wish you would have seen the entire series. And it's rightfully so, will be overshadowed by like a little league level error in center field that kicks off a catastrophic inning. That's the reason you lost.
Well, and also, man, I think that the Yankees are so fascinating. There's a bit of ego there. They made that change to the lineup that I thought was a good, obvious change. They move Chris Ullman to 4th. Chisholm back up to 4th, and they put Giancarlo Stanton at the 5th spot, and they leave Aaron Judge batting 3. Your third batter is supposed to be your best batter. Judge didn't earn that at all in this series specifically.
Judge 5 after Game 1. There's so many texts between us. Like Judge should have been at 5 starting Game 2. It like that to me was the most obvious and helpful lineup alteration that Boone could have made. Stanton's been tremendous all postseason. Judge's not. Judge's like woes did not start with this series. Judge has been pretty rough all postseason. Stanton's been phenomenal.
Yeah.
Glaber leading off is a great lead. I mean, he walked a ton this series. Glaber's a good guy to lead off with. He's a reliable base runner. Soto at 2. Again, this is just like good hitters at the top. That's
pause. I would argue. I think Soto in a traditional lineup would be 3 on most teams. But Soto, he's going to get on base, and he gets on base ahead of then Judge or Stanton. And you like that because you want when Stanton or Judge goes off to have Juan Soto already on base. That's kind of why you set it up that way.
They're putting Judge at 3. At that point now Soto's protected. So like you can't pitch around Soto. Yeah. Because you're pitching around Soto, you're probably walking him. If you're like truly pitching around a guy, there's a good chance you walk him. And now you're putting a guy on base, if not 2 on base, depending on how Glaber does hypothetically in this, again, hypothetical half inning. But now you've got at least 1 guy on for Judge, and that's really scary. The problem is that Judge wasn't scary in the postseason and especially in the World Series. Like Judge should have gone to 5. Game 2. Stanton should have been at 3. There was absolutely no fear pitching to Soto. He drew a ton of walks this series because there was no fear getting the Judge behind him. In for most of the series, short of again game 5 where he hits a homer, and I think game 1 he had a single Jazz Chisholm at the 4 spot was largely not scary. And so you're getting a lot of like 2 outs, nobody on, Stanton at bats, which is just not where you want the guy who's been mashing for you the way that he has. I think it was really, really poor lineup construction from Boone throughout. They made the change. I think it was game 2. They went Trevino instead of who was it? It was Trevino instead of Wells at catcher. That helped the platoon a little bit for them.
Yeah.
They only went with that one game. I think it was poor, very poor lineup construction from Boone. There was too many lefty righty like consecutive at bats. There were too many reliever lanes for the Dodgers to take advantage of. I think it was poor baseball from Boone. Truly.
Well, let's talk about. I want to say this: the Yankees are interesting because they rely on tradition. They want to have their guys, and actually, I would say they're similar to Dallas Cowboys, where like they really want to have it look a certain way. And Aaron Judge is supposed to be the face of your franchise and your best player, so you want him to be your 3 batter. That's what the story is supposed to be of the Yankees. I look, I'm fine. I think game 2 is pretty quick to pull Aaron Judge out of that spot. Batter number 3. After game 3, when you make the change, it's very clear. Like you gotta do it. You gotta then pull him out. I think maybe to play devil's advocate, baseball is so much about confidence, and you want to support a guy and make them feel good about themselves. Dude, it's a big ding to like get moved out of the 3 spot. It's really hard to tell a guy, you got it, you're awesome, when you're literally demoting him. So maybe that plays a role, but my honest thought is that it's more where the Yankees, this is the face of our franchise. He's our number 3. That's what he is. And the unwillingness to move away from and kind of an egocentric decision rather than a confidence building decision. But I could see Aaron Boone arguing like, look, we don't want to mess with the confidence of our guy and demote him and cause a crisis of confidence there.
Yeah, I think this speaks to like where the Yankees are under Boone, though, right? Like, because the Yankees have done this before. Like under Joe Torre, I think it was 2 or 3 consecutive seasons where like Alex Rodriguez was having a terrible postseason, and he was moved down to 7 or 8 in the lineup. Nick Swisher was benched in Game 2 of the 2009 World Series because he was having like a really, really rough postseason. Next game, he hits a home run, and I think it's double. Like this, the very Yankees, when the Yankees were the Yankees in like the 2000s, there's precedent for this. And the Yankees of old are not the current Yankees. And I think that starts not even with Boone. I think it goes a step higher with Brian Cashman and ownership at this point, Hal Steinbrenner. Like, this is a different group. They prioritize things differently. There's been a lot of stories that are coming out literally right now, but even in months and years past under Boone about how like the Yankees farm systems just don't teach baseball fundamentals. Like, that's just not a thing that's taught, which you can see literally yesterday in Game 5. Rizzo not going to the bag, Cole not covering the bag, a really silly decision from Volpe at short to try to go to third instead of in that 5th inning. Instead of going to first for the out, you then let the bases get loaded because you try to throw out a runner at third to Chisholm, who doesn't play third base. Like, he was traded to the Yankees to play third base. He's not a natural third baseman. This is all part of it. Like, it's the lineup construction, as we just mentioned, is terrible. The roster construction in and of itself, like, so many guys are playing out of position for no reason. It's such a poorly constructed lineup, and it's full of talent, and it's full of like the raw baseball ability on this Yankees roster is through the roof, and everything else is poor. And that's why, like, you can get a team that in a really weak AL can win you 94 games, even though they were like a 500 team at the All-Star break. And then when you get to a team like the Dodgers, who are going to challenge you fundamentally and who are going to make you make plays and who are going to take extra bases and make you play sharp, it falls apart because this is just such again, it's poorly constructed. It's weird to say that about a 94 win team, but like, I genuinely believe that. And I think that most of the NL teams, Mets, Padres, the Phillies, even though they like got bounced early, I think all these teams do this to the Yankees because this team is not a 94 win team, I don't think. And I think this like really exposed it.
What do you think of, a couple controversial moves from Aaron Boone in this series? The lineup construction. I thought not visiting the mound. He's getting criticized for that. It makes sense. They're having this kind of implosion. and you don't pause and go take care of that. A lot of people criticized him for pulling Garrett Cole after 88 pitches. It's been reported Garrett Cole says, look, he was gassed. And I think by pulling him, you could argue early in game one, it led to him being able to be available in game 5. So like, I don't think that's a real criticism. A, you're listening to the feedback apparently the player was giving you, but B, by pulling him then, you're allowed to have him later and able to use him for a long stretch in game 5. So I don't really hate on that decision. Here's the one thing, and Aaron Boone made mistakes. I want to make that very clear, but I also think like pitching Nestor Cortez, another one that's like, what the hell are you doing? But the big thing that I think we got to talk about is I think his stars let him down, especially Aaron Judge. Like, you can make a lot of decisions, you can do a lot of stuff, but if your best player isn't showing up, I don't know how you blame the strategy of the manager on, hey, what's supposed to be your best batter is just a complete no-show for the majority of the series. Like, is it fair to hold Aaron Boone accountable for Aaron Judge's ice cold performance? Does that make sense to you? Does that seem fair?
Yeah, no, I think that the only person I think I'd put more of this series on for the Yankees as far as like the loss and who has to wear it more than Boone is Judge. Like, Judge was terrible. And like, there's gonna be people that hear this that like think I'm some like rampant Yankee hater, and I'm genuinely not. Like, I hate the Yankees and everybody hates the Yankees because they're the Yankees and like 27 rings and all that. But like, I don't like go out of my way to dislike the Yankees.
I want to be clear about one thing. I would like to see the Yankees in the same position next year. I would really enjoy a rematch of these two teams in the World Series, to be totally honest. I thought it could have been better, and I want a do-over to see it at its best.
To try to get to that like
dude, I want to see Game 5 Aaron Judge the entire series. What would have happened? We would have gone 7 probably. It would have been really compelling. It would have been great baseball to watch.
Yeah, no, and he was awful. Like, there's genuinely like there's no way around it. Game 5 he was great. He was
as a batter. As
a batter, he truly was great in Game 5. This is the Judge that you've had for most of the regular season. That was not there in the postseason. He managed to get his World Series batting average up to 222, which is like vaguely not awful because it was like in the low ones for a little bit there, but only 4 hits, 2 of them came in Game 5. He got more comfortable as the series went on, which checks out because you're seeing the same pitching over and over and over again. You know, these teams play each other, I think 6 times in the regular season, like a home and home series type thing. So they're not seeing a ton of each other. So when you're seeing the same relieving group, you know, especially the relievers, you're seeing a starter maybe twice in a long series, but you're seeing the same relievers over and over again, 3-4 times maybe. And you could see, I think, Judge get a little more comfortable, especially in Game 4 and 5. A lot of those low breaking pitches that he wasn't letting go in the first 3 games and striking out on, he was willing to let go, and he was getting a lot of called balls. The strikeouts were down in 4 and 5. Obviously, Game 5 he hits a home run. He was looking better. It's just that it can't be Game 4 when you're down 3-0 that you become yourself and not get like an insane amount of very deserved criticism, because especially Games 1 and 2, it was ugly. It was so bad. I'm glad for his sake, especially in that market that like I'm not even glad for him because it's like it's not gonna it's like we said, anything he did in Game 5 at the plate washed away. Like, he's still the pariah. You could say before, well, at least he showed up in 4 and 5. Everybody else couldn't get it done, but it's like, nope, he makes the most egregious error of the series, and it kicks off catastrophe. So great, you hit a home run, you had another single, batted a couple of runs in, and none of it matters.
Part of me wants to track down one of my great disappointments in life is that I don't live in New York to hear. I really love the culture of New York sports radio, but I'm realizing now as I think this to myself, I'm like, you know what? Like, podcasts exist and people record everything now. I'm sure I could go find a couple New York sports radio shows from the days after the World Series. And I think honestly I'm going to this week because I drive around. I'm a salesman. Like, I'm in my car like all day. And I'm like, I'm definitely now, as I think about it, going to go track down some specific dates and podcasts to go, really recordings of radio shows to go hear what New York sports radio is saying that week. Cause it's just, I love the entertainment value of that and the angry callers. Judge is a bum. Like, I can't even do a New York accent. I'm not going to try, but I want to hear that New York accent. Judge is a bum, like conversation happening. That'll be really fun. I will say, man, game one was a highlight of the series, to be totally honest. I mean, I thought that was, it goes into extra innings. It goes 10. It's 2-2 at end of the ninth. They go into the 10th inning. The Yankees get a run to the top of the 10th, bottom of the 10th. Obviously, Freddie Freeman hits a grand slam to win the walk-off grand slam. That game was incredible, and it set the tone where you and I think we're talking after game one, like, dude, this is going to be a really cruel series. And even feeling like, look, it was a great game, and Judge wasn't even a factor. Assuming he's not going to do that for 3 more games. Like, Judge is going to, in game 2, show up and really challenge the Dodgers, and he didn't. But
he had a hit, but he struck out 3 times in game 1.
I thought game 1, you're like, man, like this is going to be an epic 7-game series. You would have felt that or thought that. I think everyone felt that way after one game. And then games 2 and 3 were really the dagger that just like, oh man, really? Like that's your best? You're going down looking like just, man, it wasn't just Judge either. It was certain players. You're like, man, that's your best at bat in this crucial moment. Like, gosh, that's killer.
Yeah. Game 1 also gave us the, and for reasons that I think, depending on maybe what side of the country you're on, are ones you're willing to forgive or not. But it also gave us the biggest Ohtani moment of the series before he gets hurt game 2. He's clearly never the same after the a subluxation, I believe they called it, a partial dislocation of his shoulder.
Yeah.
You see him in games 3, 4, and 5, and he's running the bases like holding like his collar, like he can't move his arm.
Yeah.
And his swing was clearly impacted. He was late on a lot of stuff, a lot of pitches that you have seen him hit like 430 into right field. He was behind on and was not himself. And again, people are going to criticize him for that. I am, as this show's heard a lot, like I'm a huge Ohtani stan, so I'm like not the least biased person ever.
Deservedly so, by the way. He deserves that respect. Being a stan of Ohtani is totally acceptable in my mind.
For sure. But it's more like, okay, like does he get let off for having, like, again, at the plate, because he doesn't play defense, a pretty bad series? He bats 105. He only has 2 hits. One of them is that crucial double in game 1 to score, I believe, the first run of the game for the Dodgers. But outside of that, Ohtani was, like, invisible. But to game 1's point, like, yeah, I mean, it gave us probably the biggest Ohtani moment of the series, that, like, deep double off the top of the wall.
Yeah. Yeah, the thing we haven't talked about, I think it was a cool moment worth acknowledging. In game 4, that big win for the Yankees, Anthony Volpe, the local New York kid, the shortstop, playing the position Derek Jeter played, hits a grand slam and has, frankly, an incredible game. I loved watching Anthony Volpe succeed and do well and have that moment. It's a shame. I felt bad, like, I wish that moment hadn't happened for him down 3-0 because it felt hollow, like the piss is taken out of it because of the situation they're in, down 3-0. But still cool to see that kid, 23 years old, make that happen in that moment. He was born the year of 9/11. Like that's a New York kid through and through. And I thought it was cool to see him succeed. And obviously, I'm sure very emotional for him.
Second highest batting average amongst Yankees hitters in the series was Volpe at 250, which does not speak well for the Yankees.
No, but I will say in a crucial moment when his team needed it, I thought he gave the best performance. I mean, they're down 3-0 and he's like, it was almost like he was like, man, I'm not going down this way. Like, this sucks, but I'm going to give everything I have in this moment.
It's a cool moment. It's one of those moments that you play on, like, that you include in the trailer of, like, the Yankees, like, World Series DVD, where it's like the local kid, like, hits the grand slam. Yeah, I thought at the plate he had a decent series. The decision he makes in game 5 to, again, as we talked about, to throw a third there. That's poor. That's a young player who's still learning the position at the major league level.
Break that down a little more. Talk about that in detail for anyone who isn't familiar.
Yeah, let me find here. This was in the 5th inning. That 5th inning from hell for the
because that's that throw that was wide that cost him.
It was. So the inning starts, Kike single, Edman reaches on the Judge error. So you've got Kike second, Edman first, nobody out. Will Smith ground ball to Volpe at short. Obviously force play at third. the ball was hit in such a way you're probably not turning 2 there, but the out at first was pretty comfortable. You can at least make it second and third with 1 out.
Yeah.
And the way that inning went, 1 out there, obviously butterfly effect, we don't know, but 1 out there probably saves you a lot of the damage that inning.
Yeah.
He chooses to get the lead runner at third, or try to get the lead runner at third, by throwing to Jazz Chisholm, who is, again, not a natural third baseman, who is playing the base poorly in a way that would have made it very difficult for him to catch the ball in the location of Volpe threw it. It wasn't a good throw from Volpe, and I think he took the air on that. Volpe did.
Yep.
Jazz didn't help him out.
Yeah, he's playing out of position. It's also not a great throw. Jazz Chisholm's playing out of position, and Volpe doesn't make a great throw, so it's kind of a double whammy there.
Exactly, yeah. And again, Volpe wears the air there, and I think he deserved it because the throw was poor, but Jazz did not help him. That's a play again, like a young kid. If you throw that, even if you don't try to get 2, you don't try to go to second and get the double play. If you just come up throwing to 1, you're second and third 1 out. You're probably giving up a run, if not 2, that inning. But I think getting that first out there really mitigates that damage. And Volpe tries to make the. I don't even want to say it was the reckless play, because getting the lead runner is hardly the worst thing ever. It was just executed poorly in a way, in a place that you can afford to give up a run. I think it's just an awareness thing. But again, this is managerial. This is Boone. This is just basic awareness stuff. You're up 5-0. Take the out. You only need to get 2 more of them and you're out of this thing. Take the out. No reason to be a hero there. It's not like you're in extras and you're bottom and it's the bottom of the inning and it's a tie game and this runner's the winning run and you need to get him. Just take the out. And Volpe's a young kid. He's going to learn the game, and he had a good series, I think, at the plate. So it's hard to complain about him. But man, that's one of many back-breaking plays in that 5th and series wide for the Yankees, and that just encapsulates it.
Yeah, I mean, it also, how do I say this? So I thought Garrett Cole did his job. He gets 2 strikeouts back to back after that moment.
And then induces a weak ground out, what should have been a weak ground out. He recovers nicely from that.
Yeah. The minute Betts reaches first on that infield single to Rizzo, where, he doesn't cover first, Rizzo does. It could be either one's fault. It's kind of
Rizzo fields that ball really lazily, and Cole is walking to the dugout. Both of them are I think they share very equal responsibility there.
Correct.
Like you're saying.
Absolutely. And they both own it. I don't have hatred for either or anything like that. But I think after that moment, it deserves a mound visit where you bring everyone together. Look, hey, let's not let this. That's where you need your manager to bring everyone together. Say, hey, let's not let this snowball into something worse. And we didn't get that moment. We didn't get. That's the leadership. Maybe I think they were lacking. And by the way, Ben reported today they're gonna leave Aaron Boone as a manager of the Yankees. They're gonna give him another year, and maybe some of that is, hey, he can't control Aaron Judge having a bad series. I try to get in the heads of the Yankees, but
this is what the Yankees have done for a while.
He's a homegrown guy. They've got control over him, but it's man, I do look around baseball and go, there's a lot of managers that could take this exact team and give a way better performance. I don't know. The Yankees
have convinced themselves this is random, luck of the draw October baseball. They're this is a thing that Cashman's talked about a lot. And Boone has said this in interviews and in media appearances he's done where he's yeah, we like our analytics, just didn't work out for us. But how many times can it not work out for you before that you're doing something institutionally wrong? How can you be Brian Cashman? How can you be Aaron Boone and say we're going to run this back again? Granted, you made the World Series. That's fine. Again, a weak AL. I think you made the World Series, whatever. But there are clearly real impacting institutional problems with this team, despite the fact their record is so good, despite the fact that the talent they do. So I don't know how you can chalk this and so many of their regular season games that went in a similar way where they lost because of poor defense or poor fundamentals or poor management. How can you keep chalking this up to bad luck, I guess. Let's try it again next time. It's befuddling to me. You know
what actually it reminds me of is the Dallas Cowboys keeping Mike McCarthy as their head coach. It's hey, sorry, you're the Yankees. You should have the best the best manager money can buy. This shouldn't be a conversation. It should be, hey, if this guy's not getting it done, you move on. You can pay whoever you want, and you're the stinking Yankees. You can't be leaving anything on the table if that's who you are. I feel very similar to, again, the Dallas Cowboys keeping Mike McCarthy as their head coach. We're dude, you're the Dallas Cowboys. Go get the best coach out there. What are we doing?
Why does the infield grade out as one of the worst defensively in Major League Baseball? Why is the right side of your infield? Why are Gleyber and Rizzo consistently so poor on defense and with no mitigation? Why, despite the fact that he was nominated or won the Gold Glove in right field, like why is Juan Soto allowed to play defense like this? The Dodgers went to Max Muncy and said, "You've done so much for this organization, but if you can't figure out how to play defense better at third base, there's not going to be a spot for you." Point blank. And then he figured it out, and his metrics are great now. I don't get why the Yankees can't do this. Why this is clearly not a talent issue. This is an incredibly talented team. And just in raw baseball ability, this is an incredibly talented team who it's almost as if they're being deployed in a way that would like suggest sabotage. Why do they have? The Dodgers said it. This is an article that came out today. The Dodgers loved this matchup because they think that the Yankees outfield defense positioning. This is like X's and O's baseball stuff, and it's kind of boring. But it's like, why is your outfield positioning terrible? Why are the Dodgers licking their chops because they know that if they put the ball in play against you, they're going to win? The Dodgers barely swung the bat against the Mets because that was what the game plan was for them, and the Yankees was the complete opposite, to the point where they were chasing a lot because it's like, well, if we get the ball in play, who knows what happens? And that fifth inning shows it. Like, they were right. Ball in play, stuff happens. Even in the first game, Soto can't run down a corner line drive, and it ends up a double. He throws the ball. He misses his cutoff man, throws the ball straight to second, and Gleyber can't field it, and Shohei's able to go second to third. Gleyber, it was either Gleyber, it might have been Oswaldo overshooting the ball at second as a pinch runner and defense replacement. He overslides the ball in, I think, the 9th or 10th inning of that game. Like just so much weird positional. You can fix this type stuff and they're just like, they're not, and it boggles the mind to me. I don't get it. I'm ranting now, but it's like, my God, man, why are you doing this?
No, you're not wrong at all. And it's the Dodgers called it Yankee defense. Like,
yes,
people are saying that's like a controversial, crazy offensive thing, but it's like, no, that's true.
They're poor. They're poor defensively.
Yeah.
And it starts, and I love him as a hitter. I know he's your guy. Soto's a poor right fielder. He just is.
And you're hiding him in right. You know what I mean? Like, you're supposed to be able to hide him in right field.
It's a smaller outfield. The Yankee short porch, they talked about it a lot. Smoltz talked about it. That Yankee right field wall is very short. It's less ground for Soto to cover. He's slow. He just is. He's so good at everything. He's a slow runner.
Aaron Judge is a bad center fielder. Like, the problem is you can't put him anywhere else. Like, that's the issue with this team, is like, you've got all these great bats, but you can't hide them. You can't hide enough of them on defense. You look around, you're like, where else can you put Aaron Judge?
You'd love to be able to DH Soto, but like, were you going to have Stanton put the field? That's worse. So like,
I watched him trying to round third. Okay, no.
Like, you move. For the length of time that Stanton is on this team, Stanton will be a DH. So if you have Soto, you have Stanton. Like, someone's got to play the outfield, and Soto in right field is the right call there because it's not going to be Stanton. Yeah. But he's a poor. It's shocking that he has the accolades that he does in right field. He's a poor right fielder.
Yeah. What else stands out to you? Is the Yankees kind of fall apart, implode, blow it, whatever the right word is? What else you got? What kind of flaming hot takes you got? Negative things can you say about the Yankees, I guess? What do you got, man? Because I imagine, like, this is it's a collapse. It's embarrassing. I can only imagine what New York sports radio is saying, but it's deserved. I mean, man, they left so much on the table. Again, I go back to this, like some of the strikeouts looking in key moments of runners in scoring position. Really, I don't have specific examples, but I remember watching, like, how are you not swinging with 2 strikes in that moment? What are we doing? Do you want to win a World Series or not?
And then it was like game 3. It was you'd like to think, again, I've railed on like the Yankees decision making for the last like 10 minutes. So like, you'd like to think that maybe this was just the way that it worked out, but game 3 specifically for me, you noticed the sheer amount of Yankee hitters just watching strike 1 go by. They're giving, you check the metrics, the first pitch 1-0 versus 0-1, or just swinging 0-0 fastball. Those are like, stop taking first pitch strikes. Stop taking when you know they're coming. Like, stop letting Walker Buehler just give you strike one every time. You're behind. You're 0-1 every at bat. The cascade, the downstream of that is so crazy. Like you're making him throw so many fewer pitches. You're giving him easy outs. Like why? It was shocking, and they did this for a lot of the early games, but it was specifically game 3 that sticks out to me as like, God, every single batter, like first pitch fastball 0-1 over and over again. Little stuff like that. This approach. Why? Like, I don't get it. I wish that, and it's going to happen like throughout the course of this offseason. Like it's going to be addressed. But like, can someone in New York like please hold Boone's feet to the fire for like some of these like hitting approach decisions? Please, can we get clarification why we're letting Walker Buehler dot like first pitch fastballs over and over and over again? I don't get it. I don't get it.
Yeah.
That was what sticks out to me. Another thing that I wanted to bring up quickly, if I may.
No, yeah.
I think the general tenor of the series, the fact that it goes 5, the way the Yankees lose Game 5, the Freddie Freeman saga, the Ohtani injury and subsequent, frankly, poor play from him, even though I kind of forgive it. 2 guys in the middle of their respective orders who are veterans who have had big playoff moments, who are important guys both in the clubhouse and for their actual play. Max Muncy for the Dodgers, Anthony Rizzo for the Yankees. I think a lot of the discourse from this series is going to shelter them from both having like really bad series. And there's no follow up to that. There's no like, and this is my point. It's something I noticed in Game 5. It's like Muncy's 0 for 16. Rizzo is 2 for 16 in this postseason. Yeah. 7 strikeouts for Rizzo, 10 Ks from Muncy, only 3 walks. Did not score a run. Rizzo scored once. They are middle of the lineup stabilizers who have again been in a lot of big games, veteran type guys. And neither of them were great this season. Like they're both like around 230 hitters, so like not tremendous, but like guys who have been in big moments. And I was talking to people, you being the predominant one, but a lot of people during these games, it's like, I'm waiting for the big Muncy moment. He's delivered before. It has to happen soon. And it just never happened. Same thing for Rizzo. And Rizzo makes this like, again, one half of a really costly error in Game 5. I don't think these guys are going to get talked about a lot because there's so many things that like revolve around this series and what happened, but really tough stuff from some vets in the middle of their lineups. Just an observation more than anything else.
Yeah. Again, 16 at-bats. He got on base 3 times with walks for Max Muncy. No hits the entire
10 Ks.
Series. And no hits in the entire I guess how many hits? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hits in the Mets series. Only 1 hit on how many?
Mets series is fine.
He was 8 for 49 in the postseason. Batted 163.
163 with a whole bundle of Ks. Not great. Not great.
Yeah. How many strikeouts? Let's see.
10 in the World Series.
Yeah.
Alone.
It's horrifying. It's horrifying. It's
horrifying stuff.
Yeah.
And Rizzo was better, not much better.
Where do we go from here? Like, do you think the Yankees get back next year?
No.
Yeah, I don't either. And we got to figure out what's next with Juan Soto, correct? His contract is due.
Yeah, I mean, he has said today people say this and I know it's not real, but like he said he is going to be considering every offer. Yeah. He should be getting offers from 30 teams because if Juan Soto is available, you offer Juan Soto every single penny you can, and that's going to be very different amounts from every team. But
you know where I want to see.
I don't know where the Yankees go. The Mets, the Dodgers.
Dude, I would be so happy. I hate to say this, like I don't know why I feel this way. I will tell you, I think Juan Soto is my favorite person to watch take an at bat in baseball. He's so good at battling. He's got these long at bats. He gets lower and lower in his stance to make it more difficult. Like I really admire Juan Soto.
The only Yankee who was legitimately good at the dish in the World Series. Like legitimately had a great series. He goes 5 for 16, 313 batting average. He walks 7 times, only strikes out twice. scores 6 runs. That led the Yankees. Only had 1 RBI, but that's again didn't come up to bat with a whole lot of opportunity there. OPS almost 1100. He had a great series, a phenomenal series. Again, relative to like World Series expectations for Soto, a great offensive series. Defensively, he was poor, but you're okay with that when you're going to hit 313 in the World Series.
Well, could you replace him with, one of the Hernandez's in the outfield for the Dodgers? Is that a bad idea? Is that a good idea?
I mean, I think, despite what I'm saying, Soto hits 313 this series. Teoscar Hernandez leads the Dodgers in batting average this series. Teoscar hit 350. He went 7 for 20. He knocked in 4 runs. He had such a good series.
Well, could you move Teoscar to center and put? I don't know. I don't know where you hide.
Teoscar's like a relatively. He's a very good athlete. This is something that Jays fans. He was a longtime Blue Jay, and so a lot of experience there. Teoscar is a phenomenal athlete and will make some like insane highlight reel plays in the outfield, but is also like, and this year limited it, to the Dodgers' credit, really prone to some serious boneheadedness at times too. He's kind of an aloof defender. But man, he brought it with his bat.
Yeah.
I did a great throw too to gun down Giancarlo Stanton in Game 3.
Yeah, I don't think they need him in obviously, right? But Juan Soto would be interesting on this team. I don't know, man. I don't think he goes back to the Yankees. I think if I'm the Yankees, I pay him whatever I can. But again, he doesn't really fit defensively. Something's got to change with the Yankees organization. I think they're going to pay him. If I'm the Yankees, I would probably offer Juan Soto whatever, because you think we just lost World Series. That's where we're at. We can't afford to lose this guy, this piece of our team.
So can I counter briefly?
Yeah, please.
Are we not sure? And I'm not going to say, I don't know if this is true. Teams don't like to pay one-way players the kind of money that Juan Soto is going to command. One-way player being like a DH, like a guy who doesn't play the field.
Sure.
The only guy who DHs who gets that kind of money is Shohei Ohtani, because he's also a pitcher at a very good one. Yeah. So all this is to say, like, right field in Yankee Stadium half the year is like one of the easiest right field assignments you're going to get in all of baseball. Getting to short right field.
Yeah.
For the sake of getting a big contract by way of being a cold lover, and by playing two ways, for the sake of his wallet, does Soto not also really kind of need the Yankees and their short right field and their like relative lack of pop outside of like Judge and Stanton? Like, I don't know. I think it's symbiotic. Like, I think they kind of need each other. Like, the Yankees need him for many reasons, and I think he kind of needs that 340-foot right field, and he kind of needs, I don't know. I don't know. I think the Yankees retain him. Is what I'm going to say. I think the Yankees retain him. I think the Mets are like a semi-distant second. They have the money. They're going to throw a huge offer at him.
Where does he fit into the Mets lineup?
Let's look. Let's. I don't think the viewers are going to mind too much, right? Like, let's take a look.
I think about this, man. As far as money you can make, Houston, Texas, and Florida, right? Like, so the Miami Marlins. They raise, like, they don't have the money, maybe, but like a place where your money isn't taxed is attractive to me.
I guess, to put it there's really not even like where does he fit? If Juan Soto becomes available, like, you make the fit happen. Like, you put him wherever. Like, if he, you don't want him DHing, of course, because it's the kind of money that you just don't want to spend on a DH. But like, if you got to
I think the Mets make a significant offer. He probably likes New York a lot, and it'd be amazing to be rich in New York. I mean, that's an amazing place to play baseball, and they're obviously also really close. And I think knowing where the season ended for the Mets, they're more like, and knowing they just are willing to do whatever it takes. They want to be not the number 2 team in New York. They're going to probably throw the most money at him, I would think, honestly.
I think I think there will be like combinations of huge offers. Like, there's going to be, I'm sure that whatever they offer will rival what the Yankees offer. It's a weird one for Soto, right? Because, like I just said, like, I think that there's a lot that keeps him in the Bronx. Like, I think there's a lot of reasons that he would want to say, no, I want to stay here. You're never going to be the man on that team with Judge, right? Like, you're never going to be the guy.
Yeah.
Judge is Judge. He's the captain, right? Like, you look at the crowd. Everybody's wearing 99. The Mets, if that's important to Soto, I kind of get the sense that it's not. Like, I think he's just such a gamer and such like a, like, I want to win at all costs, that I don't think he cares too much about like who's wearing his jersey like some guys do. I think that being like the man is a little more attainable in the Mets organization, although like Lindor is such a fan favorite there. It's hard to unseat that too.
What about the Padres? Just really feed into that,
like going
Southern
back?
California rivalry. No, yeah. Is that even possible? Is that an insane thought? Is that stupid of me to even bring up?
I don't think it's stupid because, like, again, I don't think every team is going to say to themselves, like, okay, like, what do we have? Like, let's like check our coffers. Like, what can we do here? And a lot of teams, like you, to your point, some of the smaller market teams are going to be out of the running in a hurry. No, I don't think it's like silly. I just think that, like, if you're the Padres, that NLDS series between the Dodgers and the Padres, like, really kind of was the World Series. Like, those, I think, are the two best teams in baseball.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's the kind of player who maybe makes a difference in that matchup. Like,
yeah, it's unfortunate that like that series was 5 games because that was kind of the de facto World Series, I think, in a lot of ways. But if you're the Padres, like, okay, that series goes 5 games, you're just a few little twists and turns. And to your point, like that. This is a guy that can help that, but like you're a few little twists and turns away from making the NLCS, being favored against the Mets, being favored against the Yankees. Like, you don't have to do a whole lot different to convince yourself that, like, hey, like with this team where we don't have to add a $700 million player, we're already kind of there.
And maybe the Padres are really a pitcher away, but I just think about, if you have Fernando Tatis, Manny Machado, and Juan Soto in the same lineup. Oh my God. I mean, that I would love to see that. I think that would just be fun baseball. But I don't know. I
mean, we did see that before, and I mean they never won 93 games with Juan Soto. Like, that was, and there's a Tatis injury stuff there that obviously contributes to the overall win total. It's not just, Soto versus not Soto, but I genuinely think the Padres are happy where they are. I think that if you're a Padres fan, like, this is a team, you haven't won the division in forever. So that obviously would be kind of a nice, next step, but like, you won 93 games. You're 1 game away from the NLCS and then probably the World Series and probably winning it. Like, they're so close. That's one of those things where, like, I think that they'll definitely be like looking to improve on the margins because every team should be, especially when you're in that spot. But I don't know if they like need to be doing a whole lot different.
Yeah. Let's end it here. We're running a little long, I guess. I just like talking to LA. I'm excited for next year. It'll be a fun offseason in the baseball world. 2 things. I want to end with number one. Like, everyone knows, football is my bread and butter. I love having you on for the other sports. Like, I feel like we could talk about any sport, and you're just on the ball, man. I really like, tip of the cap to you. It's really fun. Hockey, baseball. I feel like we could talk F1.
This is genuinely all I do. Like, it's like, you can ask my wife. Like, this is. I say this to people, and it sounds sad, and I promise you, I'm not sad about it. I really am happy with like how I spend my time.
Yeah.
But this is like sports, man. This is all I really, this is like this in gaming is like kind of like my, like what I do.
Yeah.
So, I've kind of got this calendar for myself. It's like, okay, like baseball's over. So now I'm like tuning in more. I've kind of missed the first like week and a half of the basketball and hockey seasons because this has been so enamoring, and I'll, slide into that while football kind of hits its stride, and football is going to end and we're going to get into March Madness, and that's the best time of year. And maybe we'll watch the Masters in April. Like, who knows? I just like to be everywhere.
I'd love to add you wherever I can if you're comfortable. Just says, you're great at that. You're great at the strengths I don't have. Like, my weaknesses are your strengths, and I love it. Let's end with this, man. What have we not covered? Is there anything we've left on the table about the World Series that we haven't, that we're doing ourselves an injustice by not talking about? And maybe the answer is no too, but I got a feeling you have something.
Yeah, no, it's not any one thing. I feel like, I feel like in a way we have to like oblige the Dodgers listener base a little bit here, because I feel like we've talked a lot of Yankees and what they did poorly and not like what the Dodgers did well. Um, I thought the non-game 4 bullpen play was really great from them. They got tremendous starts from their starting guys in 3 of the 4 games that they threw a starter. So that went pretty well for them. It's funny because it's like I look at kind of what happened in short of Freddie Freeman's, game 1 through 4, like heroics. Nothing sticks out as like they did this, and this one thing is like what propelled them. They just played well. Like they played within their means, so to say. They didn't get down. They didn't get down when they were losing in games. They didn't get down when they literally like got shelled in game 4. They played a style of baseball that I think is kind of going out of vogue, as like the numbers have told us that 3 true outcome baseball and home runs and walks and strikeouts are like kind of how you win now. And, they steal bases by and large. Shohei Ohtani helps with that. He hurt his shoulder this series and he's going to pitch next year. So that is probably going to stop being quite a big deal for them. But like they steal bases and they play defense and they're smart and they put the ball in play. Like they do a lot of these things that like isn't always the most like analytically sound version of baseball, despite the fact they just won the World Series. But they play this really fun and like refreshing game. And it's such a contrast to the Yankees where it's like hit every home run. The Dodgers are like, let's put the ball in play. Like, let's hit singles. Let's take the extra base. Let's force them to make a play. Like they do, like they play in a really fun way. Go ahead.
Well, I would say it's fundamentally sound baseball. It's you and I literally
incredibly fundamentally sound. Yes.
You and I literally played Little League Baseball together. Your stepdad was my Little League Baseball coach. And this is the stuff we talked about in 8th grade baseball. Hey, stealing runs, smart base running, be aggressive when it matters, but hold back when it doesn't. Don't maybe make a guy round third like we saw the Yankees do with Franklin Giancarlo Stanton. Like, be smart. Be like, and again, it's almost like their style of play reminds me of 8th grade baseball again, where it's like, man, this is just fun, good, fundamentally sound basebal, top to bottom.
There's a play like in one of I can't remember what game it was. If we weren't so far, and I try to find what game it was, but like there's a chance that like Volpe could take an extra base on a base hit somewhere, and he doesn't. Like, not the end of the world, obviously. There's just these little things that add up in baseball. Is such a momentum game, and every run matters so much, especially in October. It's the Shohei play we talked about earlier where he doubles off the wall and there's a bad throw, and he could have just stayed at second and said, okay, we'll take being at second, but he takes third, and then he comes in and scores like that extra 90 feet where you can get it. It's so important, and the Dodgers take that everywhere they can get it. And I love that style of play. It's why, I'm going to make it about my Tigers. I was trying to not. It's why the Tigers run was so fun, making the postseason, because they played that same way. It's like they make it, and bullpen pitching, another Detroit thing that the Dodgers did so well, like they make it so hard to beat them because they just take every single advantage that every opening they take. And like, that's just fun baseball. I don't know. I love it.
Well, let's say this, man, at every moment, the Dodgers outcoached and did fundamental baseball better than the Yankees. Again, base running.
Yes.
And frankly, you talked about this, but they weren't afraid of the Yankees. And I think the team that would have given us, we talked about a 7-game series. This is going to be fun. Actually, in hindsight, the team that might have given us the most challenge to the Dodgers and maybe a 7-game series. And frankly, the team that the Dodgers probably didn't want to play is the Detroit Tigers. The Dodgers look back and go, man, I don't think we want to play that team, that chaos ball style, that team that takes every margin they possibly can. That was probably when you look back, and if you were to interview them now, they're like, yeah, we're so glad the Yankees took out Detroit for us so we didn't have to play them.
I mean, it would have been nice, it would be nice for my own ego for the Dodgers to say that, like that we were scared of Detroit. I'm not sure how scared of Detroit they were, because Detroit, like, it's chaos ball, but it's really like Struble in the bullpen. Like, Struble's going to take 2 games from you because he's so good, more than likely. But like,
sure,
I'm not sure how scared they were, but I will say, like, I think that what the Dodgers feasted on in this series, like poor defense and poor fundamentals from the Yankees, Detroit's not giving you those angles. Like, Detroit's not as talented as you are. Detroit's younger than you. They don't have the experience. Detroit probably loses to the Yankees if they don't lose to the Guardians in 5, and they probably lose to the Dodgers too. Like, I'm not so deluded to think that like Detroit's favored in those series, but Detroit's going to make your wins hard. Yeah, and that's and the Dodgers do that, but like with 3 MVPs in their lineup. Like they're 1, 2, 3 guys are all MVP guys. And they make it hard on you. What do you do?
I think the Dodgers could have won a World Series with a different style too. Like, right, they put the ball in play, but that's not how they beat the Mets, by taking a lot of pitches, getting on base a different way. Like, I think the Dodgers could have won a World Series in many different styles. The Yankees couldn't, and the Detroit Tigers could not either, right? But the Dodgers, because of this talent, but because of also the fundamentally sound of the coaching, they just had a plethora of ways they could beat you.
It's balance. It's balance. Yeah. And this is like the lineup construction stuff that I think that bothered me with the Yankees. How they stack 3-4 like consecutive lefties or righties in the lineup at the same time. They make it easy to find it. Like Dodgers, lefty righty, lefty righty, lefty righty, lefty lefty switch. Like you can't. There's no no reliever lanes. They play defense. They're positionally versatile. Guys like Edman and Kike, like these are guys that can play multiple positions. They make it hard, man. I don't know. They make it tough.
This is why the Dodgers aren't going anywhere either. I mean, they won a World Series where I love Shohei, right?
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't a huge factor in this World Series, actually, to be honest, after game one.
Yeah, no, at the plate was pretty poor. Yeah.
Yeah. And some of that, like, in fairness to him, injured and whatever, but the Yankees needed their best players to be on. The Dodgers were able to do it without their best player being on, quite honestly. And now Freddie Freeman is incredible. Other people stepped up in moments, but that's what I'm saying. Like, this Dodgers team is going to probably be back in a very similar, about the exact same position next year.
If they can retain Teoscar Hernandez, who is an impending free agent, and I think they will. Teoscar seems to be confident that it happens and that he sticks around. I think.
Wouldn't you want to live in LA and be rich too? Like
100%. And he goes from Toronto to Seattle to LA.
Yeah.
So
you can pay me a little less, and I'll still happily live on millions of dollars. And and he
had a phenomenal season. Like he won a ring and had a great individual season. So yeah.
I spent time. I lived in LA briefly. I've spent a lot of time in New York and LA. Actually, I'm very lucky to have done both. Being wealthy in LA, dude, I think it would be. I look at like Casey Neistat, who left New York to LA, and I'm like, I think he ended up going back to New York.
And he's a Dodger. Like, there's wealthy in LA, and then you're a wealthy Dodger in LA. Like, who just won a World Series.
It's a compelling life. Like, I'll pay the taxes because at that amount of money, who cares? You're living the life, dude. It would be a fun. I would kill to be a retired millionaire in Los Angeles. Like, I think I could very easily enjoy my life there without much money.
Exactly. And like, to that point, like, I think without looking at, like, I'm not looking at their cap sheet, right, or their contract sheet right now. Like, I'm not sure exactly. There might be a name I'm missing. If there is, I'm sorry. But like, to my knowledge, I think that Teoscar is the most significant, like, pending free agent that they're going to have.
Yeah.
If they bring him back, this team looks more or less the same, and frankly, it looks better because, again,
pitching.
Your pitching is going to get healthy at the starter level. Again, you are adding a Cy Young finalist for free, like who hits 50 home runs. Like, you're adding that pitcher for nothing. You're getting Glasnow back. You're getting Kershaw back. You're getting Joe Kelly back. You're going to get a full year of Brusdar Graterol, who barely played in the regular season. By virtue of being healthier, their pitching staff is going to improve a ton. I think their day-to-day batting lineup doesn't change a ton. This is going to be a really good team next year.
And you deferred the money so you could pay people like
and you can be active in free agency, and you can be active in retaining your own guys like Teoscar and chasing other players as well.
And man, like, guys want to win. Like, you see people in the NFL want to go play with Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City. People want to be on a winning ball club. And frankly, for a guy like Teoscar Hernandez, when you got Freddie Freeman and Ohtani and other people contributing, it's easier to have a good season at the plate.
It's so easy. Imagine like pick a free agent, pick a mid-level free agent. We say, we want you to hit at the 6th spot, and coming up before you is 3 MVPs and Teoscar Hernandez. Sounds awesome, man. Like, where do I sign? Sounds great.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, it's 70 degrees all the time.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you're going to pay, your taxes are not going to be great, but like, the weather's going to be perfect. And you're a Dodger in LA. You're wearing the Dodger blue. Like,
yeah,
it's tough.
It's a fun place to go to work, man. It's a fun place to just, like, if your office is Dodger Stadium, man, you're living a good life.
Yeah, no doubt.
Anything else? I think we can leave it there, but I'm curious if you got any one other thing. I try to leave this one unturned.
I hear you. No, I appreciate it. I appreciate that about you. I think we covered it, man. Like, I could One of my favorite things to do is get mad at stuff. You know that. So like I could get mad at like Yankees decision making and managerial choices and team structure and all that for 5 hours. But like I think short of that, I think we've covered it on my end. But
I do have one final question. You may not know the answer. I'm putting you on the spot.
Okay. I love that.
So they're going to bring Aaron Boone back. That's the report. That wouldn't shock me given the culture of the Yankees. What manager in baseball could you bring in right now to the Yankees and make them instantly better? Do you know you may not know the answer to that question, but
I don't think there are managers, like there are manager candidates that are, on the hot seat. So, or I guess on the, there are coveted people throughout baseball that are going to get jobs. That are going to be first time managers. This off season, but like as far as the Yankees specifically, no, I think it's organizational. I truly do, and I know that's kind of a cop out, especially like with New York teams. But I think that until Brian Cashman and Hal Steinbrenner and even Boone himself start to change the way they conduct business, start to change expectations, I don't think much changes. I think that like at the managerial level, on the MLB level day to day, I think the Yankees could be better with like someone who's kind of an enforcer, honestly. Like I think that they need a manager who is going to be more okay with like telling Aaron Judge he's hitting fifth in Game 3 of the World Series and not letting Gleyber Torres be such a bad second baseman and still play every day. Like you're going to need a manager that's going to be okay with pissing some guys off, because that's going to be how I think you get this team to where it needs to be. But like at this point, I mean, the Yankee fandom, who I defer to more obviously because they're the ones who were boots on the ground, they know everything. There doesn't seem to be a lot of optimism that Cashman and Steinbrenner like make changes. So I mean, it seems like frankly, it's Boone for the foreseeable future until like it gets so bad that he gets run out of town.
Here's the name, and maybe I'll get laughed out of the building. A dude is 70. Joe Madden. Is that possible? I know he's older. I don't know what the view of him publicly is. I've liked him in moments, and I know I watched him get a World Series with the Cubs. Is that a person who might fit with that Yankee team?
His last tenure was
bad.
It was not great. It was with the Angels.
Yep,
it was his second time with the Angels. It wasn't good.
Yeah.
It's hard because he's hamstrung in LA because like ownership there is so cheap. It's tough to acquire talent. The last big sign they made was like Anthony Rendon, who was actively stealing money from them.
Yeah.
I think if for no other reason than it's like a really difficult sell to say like we're replacing Boone with a 70-year-old who lost a lot of games last time he was responsible for a team. I think it's Boone for the foreseeable future, like for better or for worse. I think it continues to be Boone, and these issues are going to continue. Like, this isn't going to change.
I have a hard time holding. Again, I know the stint was ugly. I remember those days at the Angels and Mike Trout and what was going on. I just can't imagine he's worse than Boone, and I think, given actually a good organization that's going to support him financially, like you might be better off. But that's the only name that I can even think of off the top of my head that like is available.
Schumacher's the big time covet. This offseason, Marlins manager. No longer the Marlins manager. He managed,
but it's the same reason. Like the Dallas Cowboys don't go after a Jim Harbaugh, right? That's not how they do stuff. It seems like
it's not how they do stuff, right? Like
it's like why can't we do it differently?
They play. I don't know if you saw this. This did the rounds a little bit. While the Dodgers were celebrating their World Series that they won in the stadium in the Bronx, as the Yankees are exiting the field and the Dodgers are celebrating, the PA in Yankee Stadium plays the Yankees winning song, New York, New York by Frank Sinatra.
I saw that. I heard that.
And if that's not like the single most like we care more about like the brand than like not embarrassing ourselves, like this matters. Like the optics, the brand matters so much too that we want to play New York, New York while we lose a laugher to clinch a World Series loss, while the other team from the other coast, the rich team that we don't like, is celebrating on our field, and we're playing our winning song. it's to a lot of people that's not going to matter, and it doesn't matter. It's not like New York made Aaron Judge drop that ball, but it's symptomatic of what's plaguing them. Yeah. It's these little, like, it's, you mentioned earlier, like they're going to dinner and like you're looking at all the guys who wore the pinstripes, and I feel like the things like that. It starts, or even like they made
that guy cut his hair, like the ball boy, right?
That was a common George Steinbrenner thing. Was like he didn't want guys with facial hair. This was Johnny Damon when he went from the Red Sox to the Yankees. Johnny Damon looked like a caveman for all who don't remember, and then had to shave it all off when he went to the Yankees. It's the Yankee way, right? It's almost like a Patriot way kind of thing, but like it doesn't work now because it's outdated and nobody cares. Like they care so much about, again, the pinstripes, the Yankee brand. It seems like the image. In a lot of ways, it feels like that's become more important to the point
that's why I would argue that's why they left Aaron Judge in the 3 spot.
And it's probably why like they're not teaching fundamentals in single A, and it's probably why Judge it's symptomatic again of Judge dropping that ball. It's probably why Soto, who didn't come up with the Yankees club system, fine, doesn't hit his cutoff man and throw straight to Glaber and he punts the ball. It's why Volpe, who played several years in the Yankees farm system, doesn't make the easy play to first. Like all of these things pile on, and one specific instance, it's like that's not a huge deal. We can chalk that into the game. But when it's over and over and over and over again for 7 years now, with no answer except for breaks of the game, it's a problem. It's a problem.
Why could you argue the culture of the Yankees has gotten bloated and kind of lazy?
Yes. That you summed it up so much better than I did in that rant. It's gotten bloated, it's gotten self-important, and it's gotten a little bit lazy.
Yeah. Dude, let's end it there, man. Great job, man. I love you so much. I love the Bud Lightyear. Don't let me forget. I want to send it to me, actually, a picture of you and your family, your beautiful family, in the Happy Halloween to everybody. That was fun. We just did an hour and a half about baseball, which
to infinity and beyond.
Well, maybe 10 minutes about Halloween and then an hour and 10 about baseball. But I loved it, man. I really love you on the show. I think you add a lot. And thanks for taking your time. It's now 1 a.m, Friday morning now. Thank you so much, man. I love you. I appreciate you. And great job.
Love you, man. Good show.